I smile all the time now. I can't help it. I catch my reflection in car windows, phone screens, the bathroom mirror, and there it is. This wide, full smile I never used to have. People tell me I look good, confident, like I finally grew into myself. They're not wrong. It started junior year, during a basketball game I had no business playing in. I'm not even on the team. It was a gym class scrimmage, shirts versus skins, and Marcus Devlin caught me with an elbow under the rim, not on purpose, not that it mattered. I hit the floor and felt something shift in my jaw, this wet click that didn't belong. I felt the spot with my tongue, and my left central incisor, one of the front two, folded backward like a hinge. I spat it into my palm along with a tablespoon of blood and stared at it under the fluorescent lights. Coach Hernandez sent me to the nurse. The nurse sent me home. Mom booked an emergency appointment at Aspen Dental, the one in the plaza between the Supercuts and the vape shop. Dr. Keene looked at the gap, took an x-ray, talked about implant options down the road. He gave me a pamphlet about Maryland bridges, said the route was clean and I'd heal fine. I went to bed with the gauze in my mouth and woke up with something pushing against it. I thought it was swelling at first, inflammation from the socket, but when I pulled the gauze out in the bathroom mirror, I could see it. A white nub rising from the gum line, already a 1/4 inch tall, glossy and smooth. By noon, it was a full tooth, same size as the one I'd lost, same shape. Perfect. Mom thought I was messing with her. She made me open my mouth in the kitchen light and touched it with her fingernail. It was solid, real, rooted. She called Dr. Keene's office and they brought me back in that afternoon. He took another x-ray, compared it to the one from the day before. He didn't say anything for a long time. Then he said something like, "This doesn't happen." He used the word anomaly 3 times. He wanted to send me to an oral surgeon in Dallas, but Mom's insurance wouldn't cover it without a referral chain. So, he said he'd monitor it. That was the last normal week. The second tooth fell out on a Wednesday, lower canine, left side. No impact, no trauma. I was eating cereal and it came loose like a baby tooth. Just surrendered from the gum with this soft, painless pop. I fished it out of the milk and set it on a napkin. It grew back by Thursday morning. Bigger. Not dramatically. Maybe 1 millimeter wider, 1 millimeter taller. Enough, though, that I could feel the difference when I closed my mouth. My bite was slightly off. I kept running my tongue along it, comparing it to the other canines on the other side. The new one was denser, smoother. It felt less like bone and more like porcelain. 2 days later, another tooth dropped. Upper premolar. Same painless release. Same overnight regrowth. Same subtle increase in size. Dr. Keene pulled 4 of them over the next 2 weeks, trying to get ahead of it. He sent samples to a lab. The results came back ordinary. Healthy enamel. Healthy dentin. Structurally perfect. The only abnormality was that they existed at all. They grew back within hours of extraction. Every single one. Slightly larger. Slightly more crowded. By November, my mouth was too full. Not painfully. Not yet. But I could feel the pressure when I closed my jaw. Teeth pressing against teeth. My molars sat tighter than they should have. My front teeth overlapped at the edges. Barely. Like shuffled cards. I started catching myself chewing differently, adjusting without really thinking about it. Dr. Keene referred me to the oral surgeon after all. Mom fought the insurance company for a week, and by the time we got the appointment, I had 6 extra teeth. The oral surgeon's name was Dr. Pham. She practiced out of a medical complex near the highway, the kind of building with a shared lobby and a fish tank nobody cleans. She looked at my mouth for about 30 seconds before she sat back on her stool and pulled off her gloves. "How long has this been happening?" Since September. She asked if anyone else in my family had experienced abnormal dental growth. I said no. She asked if I had been exposed to any unusual substances, environmental contaminants, radiation. I almost laughed. I live in a subdivision built in 2006. The most unusual substance I encounter is the red dust from Takis. She extracted 8 teeth that afternoon. The ones that were clearly extra. The ones growing in behind the existing row, pushing forward like a second fence line. She was clinical about it. Fast. She put them in a specimen container and told me to come back in a week. I came back in 4 days because they'd already returned. Not 8, 12. That was when the growing started happening in other places. I felt the first one on the roof of my mouth, a hard bump, smooth and rounded, pressing against my tongue when I swallowed. Within 2 days, it had erupted through the tissue. A perfectly formed molar sitting in the dead center of my palate, upside down. The one at the base of my gum line, below my bottom row, angled outward like it was trying to exist through my chin. Another nestled into the soft tissue behind my last molar. So far back, I gagged when I touched it. They kept coming. I stopped going to school in December. Talking was hard. Not impossible, but hard. My mouth was crowded enough that my tongue couldn't move the way it used to. Words came out thick, compressed, like I was speaking through a mouthful of gravel. I could eat, but only soft things. The teeth on the roof of my mouth made chewing a negotiation. Every bite had to be positioned, worked into the shrinking space my tongue could still reach. I spent most of my time in my room. I'd run my tongue along the rows, obsessively counting, cataloging. The new teeth had a different texture than the originals. Smoother, almost polished, like they'd skipped the rough stage entirely and arrived finished. At night, I'd lie in bed and feel them shifting, micro-adjustments happening while I tried to sleep. This faint grinding I could hear through my own skull. Mom wanted to take me to Houston, a specialist, a research hospital, somebody with answers. But Dr. Pham had already made calls. Nobody had seen anything like it. A few people were interested from a research perspective, but nobody had a treatment plan. You can't treat something you can't explain. The internet was worse. Mom begged me not to look things up, but I was 16 and scared. So obviously, I did. I found out there's a real condition called hyperdontia, extra teeth. It happens. Some people grow 1 or 2 bonus teeth in a lifetime. The world record was something like 200 removed from a single patient in India. I passed 200 in January. I stopped Googling after that. They weren't just in my mouth anymore. I found one pushing through the skin on my wrist, right at the pulse point, small, sharp, like a canine tip breaking through from underneath. It didn't hurt. That was the part nobody believed until they saw it. None of it hurt. The teeth emerged clean and bloodless, the skin parting around them like it was meant to. 2 more on my left forearm, 1 on the back of my hand, a cluster along my collarbone, small and even, like a row of pearls set into the skin. Marcus Devlin found out in February, the kid who elbowed me in the gym. He lost a filling while eating his school lunch, and the tooth grew back before 6th period. Not the filing, the whole tooth, white and new and perfect. He showed people in the locker room. Nobody believed him until his second row came in a week later. Then, Brianna Orozco. She sat 2 rows behind me in English. We'd never really spoken. I'd heard about it from Mom. I heard about it from Brianna's mom at the pharmacy. It started in her fingertips, teeth forming right beneath the nails. These tiny incisors pushing upward, slowly, over days, until the nails lifted and split and fell away like dead leaves. What grew in underneath was smooth white enamel, curved and perfect, where her fingernails used to be. She posted a video. I watched it 11 times. Her hands looked alien and precise, like they'd been redesigned by something that understood grip better than skin ever did. After Brianna, it moved faster. A kid on the bus, Mr. Alderman, the chemistry teacher, 3 people at the Walmart on 64 who'd never been in the same room as me. Dr. Keene's office was overwhelmed by March. Every chair was full, every appointment an extraction that wouldn't stick. He stopped pulling them eventually, said there was no point. I heard from Mom that he closed the practice in April, but I'm not sure that's true. I'd stopped going out by then. The teeth along my forearms had merged by spring. Not fused, merged. The gaps between them filled in with new growth, enamel spreading like frost on a window, connecting tooth to tooth until my arms were sheathed in a smooth, white surface from wrist to elbow. Hard, gleaming, warm to the touch. I spent hours in the bathroom those nights, just looking, running my fingers along the plates of enamel that had formed across my skin. They caught the light in a way that skin never does. Clean and geometric. Each tooth that emerged fit perfectly against the one beside it, tessellating like tiles. No gaps, no crowding anymore. The chaos of the early months had organized itself into something structured, something deliberate. Mom stopped touching me around this time. Not dramatically. She didn't recoil or anything. She just stopped. No hand on my shoulder when she passed behind my chair. No brushing hair out of my face. I think the sound bothered her more than the sight. Enamel on enamel when I moved my arms. The faint clicking, like dice in a quiet room. My jaw had restructured too. I couldn't explain how. The bones themselves seemed to have shifted to accommodate the interior growth. The teeth on my palate had flattened and spread into a second layer, smooth as a river stone. My tongue had adapted around them. I could speak again, though my voice sounded different. Clearer, somehow. More resonant. Like my skull had become a better chamber for sound. And I stopped wearing short sleeves for a while. Then, I stopped caring. There was a town meeting in May. I didn't go, but my mom told me about it. People were scared. A few families had left, packed up in the middle of the night. No forwarding address. Like distance alone could stop it. The local news ran a segment, and then a longer follow-up, and then stopped covering it entirely, which scared people more than the teeth did. The CDC sent a team. They took samples, ran tests, quarantined nobody. Their report, the parts of it I saw later, used the word benign 11 times. The growth was benign. The tissue was benign. The phenomenon was unexplained, but pathologically speaking, benign. They were right. No one here was sick. Nobody was in pain. The teeth were perfect. Better than perfect. Stronger than natural enamel. Resistant to decay. Self-repairing. Every sample the labs analyzed came back the same way. Structurally flawless. No explanation offered. No treatment recommended. Summer, I stood in front of the mirror after a shower, and I didn't flinch. My chest was plated, smooth, interlocked with rows of enamel from collarbone to navel, white with the faintest translucence, like light could almost pass through. My arms were fully covered. The growth had started along my thighs, creeping down in clean geometric lines. My face was still skin. My face was the last holdout, but behind my ears, along the jaw, I could feel the first hard ridges forming under the surface. I pressed my palm flat against my sternum, warm, solid. I tapped it with a fingernail, and it rang, a faint, clear note, almost musical. I opened my mouth, 4 rows deep now, every tooth identical, every tooth pristine. When I exhaled, the air passed through them and made a sound I'd never heard before. This low whistle. Almost harmonic. Almost a chord. I stared at myself for a long time. Here's the part I'm not supposed to say. The part that makes people uncomfortable when the interviews air and the documentaries play their concerned music. The part Dr. Pham's notes carefully never include. I ran my hand down my chest, and it felt good. Not in a weird way. In the way it feels good to run your hand along a polished banister or smooth stone from a riverbed. Satisfying. Complete. Like touching something that was finished. I looked better. Not a human better. Not like I'd cleared up my skin or gained muscle. Better the way a building looks better than a tent. Skin is soft and uneven. It scars. It sags. It sheds constantly. Never the same surface 2 days running. This was permanent. This was architecture. Every plate locked against the next one. Every curve following the bone beneath it, like it had always meant to be there. I think the body had been trying to do this for thousands of years. Enamel is the hardest substance we produce. Harder than bone. Harder than anything else we're made out of. And for all of human history, we only grew it in one place. In one small row. And we acted like that was the plan. It wasn't the plan. It was a limitation. And I was the first one who got past it. There are more of us now. I don't know the exact count. Hundreds in town. Reports from other states. It moves the way these things move. Contact, proximity. Maybe something in the water. Maybe something in the air. Maybe nothing at all. Maybe it was always going to happen and I just happened to be the first. Marcus and I talked a few weeks ago. He's further along than most. His face has started. The enamel crept over his cheekbones in these perfect arcs, following the contour of the skull beneath. And when the light hit him right, he looked carved, intentional, like a mask someone spent 100 years making. He smiled at me, and every tooth in his head caught the light. I smiled back. I couldn't help it. I smile all the time now.
I hadn't heard from Marcus in 4 days, which wasn't unusual on its own. He had this pattern, disappearing off the radar, re-emerging with some half-baked theory about the Denver airport or a secret society running Arkansas. We were both in our junior year at ASU, but Marcus had mentally dropped out long before he actually did. What was unusual was the flash drive. No return address, just a padded envelope in my mailbox with my name typed out. Inside, a basic 32GB drive. Nothing else. The kind you'd get at a gas station. And I didn't even plug it in at first. Just stared at it, heart weirdly heavy. And I didn't admit it out loud, but I was starting to worry about him. A week earlier, Marcus had shown me a site on the dark web called Waypoints. It looked like something built in 1997. Plain black background, green text, and a long scroll of coordinates. Each entry had a highway exit number, a GPS pin, and a tag next to it in red font. Things like no return, restricted, or tested. Some had short user-submitted notes. Saw lights in the tree line, stayed in the car, still hear them sometimes. Girl in red dress, do not exit. Tested 3 a.m., confirmed active. I asked him what active meant, and he just grinned like a kid with a magic trick. "It means if you go there," he said, "something happens." Marcus was always chasing that kind of shit, ever since high school. Not ghost stories. He didn't believe in the paranormal, but the real stuff. Government test zones, closed-door communities, buried crime scenes no one talks about, He once drove 6 hours to check out an abandoned ranger station because a Reddit post claimed it had a hatch with no bottom. This site was just his next rabbit hole. The last time I saw him was outside my apartment. He was wired, excited in that manic way he got when he was sure he was onto something. He said he was going to test one, and that's how he phrased it. Exit 94. It's close. Middle of nowhere. I'll film the whole thing. I told him not to. He rolled his eyes and said, "Come on, man. If I vanish, you'll have a viral documentary." Then he gave me a mock salute and drove off. That was 8 days ago. Tonight, I finally plugged in the flash drive. I wish I hadn't. It contained a single video file, m94.dash.mp4, 10 minutes long, no title screen, just dash cam footage, nighttime, flat desert highway, headlights cutting through the dust and blackness. At first, it was boring, like every late night drive I've ever done. His playlist was low in the background, something ambient and forgettable. Then, he spoke. "All right, I'm coming up on it now. Exit 94. It's not on Google Maps. I feel like I'm driving into the goddamn void." His voice was steady, but you could hear the nerves creeping in slightly. He took the turn off onto a cracked, narrow road. No signs, no lights, just endless sand and brush and fence posts rotting in the ground. 7 minutes in, something flickered in the frame. A shape just on the edge of the headlights. Too far to identify, but not far enough to ignore. He slowed down. "You seeing this? What the fuck?" The footage shook slightly. The camera caught 5 figures just off the road, standing, still. Their faces weren't visible. Or maybe they were just hidden. It took me a second to understand what I was looking at. Masks. White. Featureless. Full-face masks. They didn't move. Not even a twitch. Like mannequins forgotten in the middle of the desert. Marcus stopped the car. The figures didn't even react. He whispered something under his breath. Then, the camera glitched. A sharp digital hiccup, and when it came back, the figures were closer. Closer by at least 10 feet. No motion. Then, the feed cut. Black screen. End of the file. I sat there for a full minute, frozen, trying to rationalize what I just watched. Was it staged? Maybe. He could have gotten some people to dress up and pull a prank. But Marcus didn't do performance art. He wanted answers, not attention. If this was a joke, it wasn't like him. I called the police, filed a missing person report. They were polite, said they'd check, but I could hear it in their tone. They thought he was just some college kid who ran off. Maybe he was burned out from college. Maybe it was some drugs. He was probably fine. Maybe he was just burned out from school. Maybe it was drugs. He was probably fine. The usual script. That was this morning. Tonight, someone knocked on my door at 1:17 a.m. Just one knock. Not even a second. I waited, watched the people, but no one was there. I swear I saw something on the sidewalk as I looked through the glass. I parked a car with its headlights off, engine running. I waited, watched the people. No one was there. But I swear, I saw something on the sidewalk as I looked through the glass. A parked car with its headlights off, engine running, and a figure walking back toward it, wearing something bone white over their face. I didn't sleep. I just sat with the drive in my hand, trying to figure out whether to delete it or to make copies. Marcus went looking for the truth. And now, it's looking for me. I didn't tell anyone about the guy at the door. I didn't even call the cops. I just stayed up, every light in my apartment on, checking the hallway every 20 minutes like an idiot. By morning, I convinced myself it was just paranoia. A trick of light. Maybe a neighbor walking their dog. The kind of bullshit you tell yourself to keep moving. I made a copy of the dashcam file, uploaded it to an encrypted folder, and took the flash drive to the police station. The officer at the desk, some guy named Hodges, took my statement without even pretending to be interested. He said they'd review the footage and forward it to the appropriate department. I tried to press him, asked him if other people have gone missing near exit 94, if anyone's reported masked individuals out there, but he kept glancing at the clock behind me. Before I left, I asked if they had any recent cases involving a Marcus Daly. He stared at me like I was speaking another language. Then he typed something into his terminal. "Nothing comes up with that name in this jurisdiction," he said. I walked out with a pit in my stomach. Marcus had definitely been pulled over for speeding last semester, just a few blocks from campus. There should have been some sort of record. That night, I drove to exit 94. It's 90 minutes outside of Phoenix. Nothing but scrubland, rusted fences, and radio static. The GPS glitches as soon as I get close. The exit ramp isn't even marked, just a crumbling shoulder that peels off like a service road into emptiness. No other cars, no lights, just the crunch of gravel under my tires and the dull thump of my own heartbeat in my ears. I parked and stepped out. The silence out there is oppressive, like the land itself was holding its breath. I walked about 30 feet past the guardrail, into the brush, sweeping my flashlight across the ground. That's when I found it. A set of tire tracks veering off the road. They ended at a flat patch of ground where something had clearly been parked for a while. A dark stain in the sand, and half buried in the dirt, a phone case, red and black. Marcus's. I didn't have time to feel anything about it because I heard a movement. Crunch. Not close, but not far either. I killed my flashlight, froze, and waited. Nothing. And then a figure stepped into view, maybe 40 feet away, silhouetted by the starlight. At first, I thought it was just some drifter, but then another appeared, then another. I counted 5. All of them were wearing masks, plain, pale, expressionless masks, different styles, but the same effect, blank, human-shaped voids. They stood still, like they had been waiting for me. And then, one more stepped forward from behind the others. It was Marcus. Same clothes that I'd last seen him in. His arms hung limp at his sides. His face, it was slack, blank, but not like the masks. It was like he wasn't there. I whispered his name without meaning to. He didn't even react. The masked figures turned toward him slowly in unison. Then, even slower, they turned to face me. And that's when I fucking ran. I didn't stop until I was in the car, locked in, reversing wildly down the narrow shoulder. The figures didn't follow. Not physically. But when I looked in the rearview mirror, I swore I saw Marcus raise his arm. Like he was pointing at me. The next morning, I checked the waypoint site again. Exit 94 had a new tag next to it. Tested. Still active. That wasn't there before. I tried to go back to the police, but Officer Hodges wasn't on shift. The guy at the desk claimed there was no one by that name at the precinct. And said maybe I had the wrong station. His tone was too polite, too deliberate. When I got home, my front door was unlocked. Nothing was missing, nothing broken, but someone had been inside. I could feel it. A chair slightly moved, a pen left upright on the counter that I know I had rolled under the toaster. Then I got the second video. No sender, just a Dropbox link in my email from a burner account I didn't even recognize. File name, x94.still.mov. It was more dashcam footage, but not from Marcus, from someone else. Someone who followed the same path. Different angle, but the same stretch of road. And at one point, midway through, it zoomed in on something in the distance. Me, standing at the roadside, holding Marcus's phone case, looking around like an idiot, completely unaware I was being filmed. The timestamp was the night before. Someone was already watching me, recording me. just like they did to Marcus. I stopped going to class. Every time I stepped outside, I felt it. That eyes on the back of your neck sensation. A car parked too long across the street. Someone scrolling a little too slowly at the cafe behind me. I started taking side streets, wiping down my doorknobs, watching my reflection move slightly out of sync. But I couldn't stop digging. There had to be something. A breadcrumb. A weakness. I went back to the waypoint site. The layout hadn't changed, but now I noticed a new button at the bottom. Submit proof. It was small, easy to miss. When I clicked it, a dialog box opened with 2 fields. Exit number and proof of contact. There was no explanation of what that meant, but as I hovered over it, a familiar chill spread down my arms, like I was being tested. I started to think Marcus didn't find exit 94 on his own. I think they chose him. I tried to go to a reporter. She was local, independent. She had written pieces on missing persons and surveillance tech. I sent her everything. The videos, the photos, a PDF of forum screenshots. She agreed to meet. We sat in the back of a diner with my laptop between us. She didn't say much, just listened, nodding slowly. Then she asked one question. How do you know the person in the second video was Marcus? I told her I recognized him. Same clothes, same build, same watch. But she kept pressing. You never saw his face. You can't even confirm he was alive. Something about the way she said it chilled me. Maybe that's the point. She said. They want you to think you saw him, to keep you looking, to keep you in it. I asked her what she meant by they. She smiled soft and tired. I think you already know. She stood up and said she'd be in touch. She never was. 2 days later, her website went offline. Her number stopped working. All her old articles scrubbed. The last message I ever got from Marcus came 2 nights later. It wasn't a video this time. It was a zip folder titled Exit 94-final.zip. Inside were 9 images, low res, black and white, like infrared security cam footage. Most were just landscapes, blank road, desert brush, empty sky. But the 6th one stopped me. It was a photo of me, through a window in my apartment, sitting at my desk, taken from outside. It was dated yesterday. The final image showed an open field, a concrete platform, and a person kneeling in the center. Their head was covered with something, a cloth, maybe a hood. Around them stood 6 figures in masks, the same ones from Marcus's video. Only this time, they were all facing the camera. And in the bottom right corner, in faint gray text, it said, "You were selected." I'm leaving tonight. I booked a one-way bus ticket under a different name, my phone staying behind. So is this laptop. I printed out the videos and mailed them to a few people I trust, just in case. They don't want exposure. They want compliance, curiosity. They want you to think you found something no one else has. They don't stop you. They wait. They watch. They let you walk right in, camera in hand, thinking you're the one uncovering the mystery. But Exit 94 isn't a place. It's a filter. And the second you click it, when you think you're observing them, you're already on the list.
I told everyone I needed a reset. No service, no people, just trees, fire, and silence. It was a 2-hour hike from where I parked, the kind of trail where the ground swallows your footprints and the canopy swallows the sky. The deeper I went, the quieter the world got, until I could hear my heartbeat in my ears and the soft crunch of pine needles under every step. When I found the clearing, it felt perfect. Flat earth, dry space,
a ring of stones already waiting for a fire, and someone who had already built one. I stopped cold when I saw her. She was sitting by the fire, long black hair spilling over one shoulder, feeding twigs into the flames like she'd been doing it forever. She didn't look startled or confused, just like she'd been expecting me. "Didn't think anyone else came out this far," I said. She looked up, smiled. "I could say the same about you." I should have asked more questions. Should have wondered why there was only one tent, why she didn't have a pack, or shoes, or any gear I could see. But instead, I sat down when she offered me a spot by the fire. She introduced herself. Her voice was soft, melodic, a little old-fashioned, like she wasn't from around here. We talked for hours about work, the city, loneliness. She didn't say much about herself, but she listened. God, she listened. Like every word I said mattered. The fire crackled. The woods whispered. And I felt good for the first time in months. That night, I crawled into my tent and lay awake, grinning at nothing. I don't even know why. She was just a stranger, right? But something about her stuck in my chest. Around 2 a.m., I woke to a strange noise outside. Clicking. Not footsteps, not animals. Just clicking. Rapid, sharp, like fingernails on bark. I unzipped the tent slowly. She was there, sitting by the fire again, still smiling. "You okay?" I asked. She tilted her head. The firelight danced in her eyes. "Just couldn't sleep," she said. "The woods feel different tonight." I nodded, pretending like I understood, but the fire behind her hissed like it didn't. The next morning, I found something strange. My boots were moved, my pack was open, and a few of my energy bars were missing. Nothing major, just off. I asked her about it, joking. She smiled again. "You must have done that in your sleep." Then she handed me a cup of tea I didn't remember her making. The forest around us looked brighter that day, more alive. The birds were louder. The sun was softer. The breeze carried the smell of flowers I didn't recognize. It felt like paradise. But the fire pit wasn't warm, and the ashes were undisturbed, like it had never burned at all. I stopped checking my watch around day 3. Not because I lost track of time, because time stopped making sense. The sun rose too slowly, set too early. Sometimes it was midday for what felt like hours, light filtering through the trees in golden strands that hung still, like cobwebs in the air. She said it was the altitude, the forest, the peace. "You're relaxing," she told me, brushing something from my shoulder that I didn't see. "Finally." I smiled and nodded like I believed her, because part of me did, or wanted to. Little things kept changing. The forest trail we used for firewood felt shorter each time we walked it. Once, it turned into a loop that brought us right back to the camp without ever turning around. My tent moved one morning, about 10 feet to the left where I had set it up. I found strands of something sticky on the zippers, thin and almost invisible, like the thread from fishing line, only stronger, tougher. When I touched it, it clung to my fingers. I started having dreams. Long corridors of wood and silk, sounds behind me, soft clicking, like feet that weren't quite feet moving across walls. In the dreams, she walked ahead of me, always just out of reach. "I'll show you something," she said, voice echoing. "I think you're ready." One morning, she woke me early. "Come on," she said, her eyes brighter than I'd ever seen them.
There's a place deeper in. I followed her. No pack, no phone, just the two of us. The forest grew taller around us, but the trail was clearer now, like something had carved it out just for us. Eventually, we came to a tree so massive I couldn't see the top. Its trunk was covered in soft white threads, thick as rope, crisscrossed like a net that shimmered in the light. She looked up at it with reverence. "This is where I live," she whispered. "I wanted you to see it." That night, I dreamed again, but this time, I didn't wake up when I was supposed to. I opened my eyes to a blur of silk, not sheets, not a tent, web. I was cocooned, tight, paralyzed from the chest down. My mouth wouldn't open. Across me, swinging gently in another bundle of silk, was a face. My face. Eyes empty, skin grayed, mouth open in a silent scream. The web swayed gently, and above us was her. Not walking, not smiling, hanging. A woman from the waist up, a spider from the waist down. Legs like polished bone arched around the nest. Her hair trailed like web. Her smile was gone, but her eyes were the same. Still gentle, still watching me like I was something beautiful. And hers. I awoke screaming. The camp was empty. My boots were gone. My pack, gone. The fire was cold. And the trees around me had shifted. They weren't trees anymore. They were pillars, wrapped in silk. I ran, barefoot, no direction, just away. The forest didn't make sense anymore. Trees bend toward me as I pass, branches low and reaching. The trail splits, then vanishes entirely. I trip over roots I could have sworn weren't there seconds ago. Every time I stop to catch my breath, I hear it. Click, click, click. Above me, not footsteps, legs. They scrape across bark and stone and each other. Soft at first, then louder, closer. I don't look up. I can't. At some point, I find the clearing again. The fire pit is still there, untouched. So is the tent. And so is she. Sitting by the cold fire, hands folded neatly in her lap, smiling like she'd never left. "You look tired," she says. I don't answer. My throat is raw. "You should rest." She stands, steps toward me with that slow, fluid grace that always seemed a little too perfect. Only now, it isn't perfect anymore. Her steps don't touch the ground. They hang, suspended. I take a step back, but my feet sink into the soil like it's turned soft. Sticky. The grass is threaded with silk. It winds around my ankles before I even realize it. "I wanted you to be happy," she says, her voice still soft, still sweet. "You came here to feel better. You said you wanted peace." She gestures to the trees, the clearing, the sky. Everything glows, beautiful, dreamlike. "You're the one who stayed," she says. "I just wanted to give you what you wanted." I fall. My legs don't work right anymore. I can feel the threads working through my skin, inside me, weaving something I can't see. I scream, but no sound comes out. Her face is close now, inches away. Half of it is still her. The other half splits open, revealing a second set of mandibles twitching beneath her jaw. "I'll make it last," she whispers. And then the world tilts. I'm lifted, weightless, spun gently upward into the trees. The clearing fades. The sky closes. And above me, silk. Endless, pale silk stretched like a ceiling, and just before the last light disappears, I hear her voice again. Don't look up. But I do. And she's already there, watching, smiling, and beginning to feed. You ran from the web. Now let's see if you can survive the snow. But careful. Some doors don't close behind you. My parents got me a dog to shut me up. They didn't say it like that, of course. They said things like, "You've been so patient," and "You need companionship," like I'm some kind of pet myself, waiting by the door for scraps of attention. They got me the dog because I cried when I caught my reflection in the patio door. It wasn't a reflection that scared me. It was how quiet the house was behind it. And maybe because they heard me whispering to my stuffed animals again. They hate that. The dog comes from some fancy breeder. My dad says it's a Czech bloodline, whatever that means. He looks like a white shepherd, but taller, leaner, yellow eyes, like a candle's flame. My mom says he's beautiful. My dad says he was expensive. I name him Silas. He doesn't wag his tail much. He doesn't chase balls or chew things, doesn't beg, doesn't bark. He just watches. He sits by the front window like a statue, head tilted slightly forward, staring at the cul-de-sac. Sometimes he tracks specific people with his eyes, neighbors walking their own dogs, a kid on a bike. Once he stared at Mrs. Elkins across the street for a solid hour, head never moving. She waved. He didn't. I try to get my parents to look, but they don't pay attention. Dad's on work calls until midnight. Mom's always gone by the time I wake up. And they see Silas as a success story. Look how calm he is, they say. He's so well behaved. He's not calm. He's calculating. I was brushing my teeth. I spit, looked up, and nearly jumped. Silas was standing in the doorway, silent, staring. Nothing unusual, except when I turned off the water. I swear, I heard it. A soft sound. Click, click, click. I glanced down. Silas was tapping one claw against the doorframe, slowly, deliberately, in rhythm with the bathroom clock. Like he was counting. I called his name and he stopped, tilted his head again, then just walked away like nothing happened. He doesn't sleep. I tested it. Sat up one night pretending to sleep with my face to the wall. Hours passed. I peeked. Silas was sitting in the dark, his eyes reflecting the hallway nightlight. Just sitting, looking straight at my door, at me. And then, I swear to God, he tilted his head again, just like he does when he hears something interesting. I was leaving for school, backpack over one shoulder, when Silas stepped in front of the door, blocked me. He didn't growl, didn't even make a sound. He just stood there. I reached for the handle. He tilted his head. I swear he looked disappointed. I told my mom. She barely looked up from her laptop. "He's protective. That means he likes you." Silas didn't move until I said, "I'll come back." Then he stepped aside. Last night, I went to get a snack. Everyone was asleep. The kitchen light buzzes, so I left it off. Moonlight through the window lit just enough to see the fridge. When I turned to close it, I saw it. Silas, sitting in the living room, watching me from the shadows. But that's not the scary part. On the floor in front of him were all my stuffed animals, lined up, perfectly straight, all facing him. Like a class. And Silas, I know how insane this sounds. Silas looked like he was teaching them something. He didn't move, just stared at me, slowly blinked once. I didn't eat. I went back to bed, pulled the covers over my head, and didn't sleep a second. Next morning, I found the stuffed animals back on my shelf, but not how I left them. They're in order from tallest to shortest. And Silas? He's not by the window today. He's sitting in the hallway, facing my parents' bedroom, waiting. He's still by their door when I leave for school, sitting tall, waiting. He watches me leave, but he doesn't stop me this time. At school, I can't focus. All I can think about is how still he was, like a guard dog, or like a judge. I tried telling Eli, the only kid who talks to me sometimes, that something's wrong with my dog. He laughs, says maybe I should start barking too. Maybe someone will finally notice me. I think he's joking. I think. But when I get home that afternoon, I find something waiting in my backpack. It's Eli's keychain, the one with the rubber dinosaur, the one he never lets go of. I ask him about it the next day. He stares at me blankly. I lost it, he says. When? I ask. I don't know, he shrugs. Guess it's gone. That night, Silas talks to me. Not in words, not exactly, but in something. I'm lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, when I hear soft footsteps on the carpet. I don't turn. I know it's him. He climbs onto the bed, slowly, carefully, and then lies beside me. He presses his head against mine. And then, in the absolute stillness of that moment, I get this image in my head. Not a memory, but a feeling shaped like a thought. They don't see you. I do. My body goes cold. It didn't come from me. I push him off the bed. He doesn't resist. He leans quietly, pads to the doorway, looks back once, head tilt, and leaves. Saturday morning, the world breaks open a little more. Mrs. Elkin's dog goes missing. Her voice cracks when she tells my mom. My mom gives the appropriate noise of sympathy, saying things like, poor thing, and keep us updated. Silas listens from the hallway. That afternoon, I find muddy paw prints in the garage. They're not his. Too small. Sunday night, I follow him. I wait until everyone's asleep. I leave the patio door cracked, just like I've seen him do. At 1:12 a.m., he slips out. I wait 2 minutes, then follow barefoot. He moves like fog. No collar, no tags, just the click of claws on pavement. I trail him across 2 yards. He doesn't look back. Eventually, he stops. We're at the storm drain at the edge of the neighborhood. He sits beside it. Doesn't go in, just watches it. I stand behind him, shivering. He turns his head slightly, like he knew I was there all along. Then, he does something terrifying. He smiles. Dogs aren't supposed to smile. Monday is different. My dad's in a bad mood. My mom's out of town. The air feels tight. I find Silas in the laundry room. He's watching the dryer spin. I kneel beside him and whisper, "What's in the storm drain?" He doesn't react. But that night, when I go to brush my teeth, I find something strange in the sink. Mrs. Elkin's dog collar. I don't tell anyone. Tuesday, my dad kicks Silas. He thinks I'm not watching, but I see it. Silas got in the way while he was carrying groceries. Dad yells. A boot connects with ribs. Hard. Silas doesn't bark. Doesn't even whimper. He just stands there, head low, watching him, tail dead still. And I swear, his eyes flick to me like, "You saw that. Remember it." That night, I wake up to screaming. I run to the hallway. My dad's voice, loud and panicked, echoing from the bathroom. The mirror is shattered. A dozen tiny cuts on his hands. He says something startled him. A shadow behind him. "It growled. I heard it," he said. But Silas is in the living room when I check, sitting quietly, tail wrapped around his paws, watching. Today, Silas did something new. He brought me something. At first, I thought it was a bone, but no, it was plastic, smooth. It's a flash drive in a Ziploc bag. There's a single file on it, no label, just footage. It shows my mom at our office, typing, then getting up, going to the elevator. The camera angle shifts. It's from across the street, high up, like from a building. Then another video. My dad, talking on the phone, pacing, laughing, saying the words, "Client doesn't need to know," and buried in Q4. There's 5 clips. All of them feel wrong, like they're not meant for anyone else to see. Like blackmail. Silas sits beside me when I watch them. He doesn't move. He just waits. I asked him why. He didn't speak. Not really. But I got another thought. This one colder. Sharper. Not meant for comfort. Do you understand now? I think I do. But I don't know what he wants me to do about it. Silas has stopped pretending. He doesn't follow me around like a pet anymore. He walks beside me now. Equal pace. Same rhythm. When I open a door, he waits to go through at the same time. Like we're one thing, not two. The more I understand, the more he changes. I don't think it's a coincidence. Thursday afternoon, Silas kills a raccoon. I hear it before I see it. A short, brutal noise, like teeth snapping a branch. By the time I get outside, it's already over. Silas stands over it, calm, expressionless. Then he does something that haunts me. He drags it to the backyard patio and places it right in the center, like a gift, or maybe a message. Not for me, but for them. That night, he shows me something else. We're alone in the garage. The lights flicker sometimes, but he doesn't mind. He knows there's a pile of paint cans aside. Beneath them is a hole in the drywall, a space I didn't know existed. Inside, there's a small bundle of things. A worn leather wallet, a cracked photo of a little girl with blonde braids, a set of keys, and something that looks like blood on the envelope beneath it all. I look at him. He looks back. They buried what mattered, the thought says. I don't know if he meant my parents or someone else, or me. Friday, my mom leaves without saying goodbye. Just a closed bedroom door, a car engine, and silence. Later that night, my dad comes home drunk. He forgets I exist, doesn't see Silas watching from the stairs, doesn't notice when Silas doesn't blink the entire time he rants at the TV. I do something I'd never done before. I take the flash drive Silas gave me, and I put it in my dad's briefcase. I wake up to shouting. It's early, light barely leaking through the curtains. My dad is screaming into his phone. Words like lawsuit and privacy breach, and how the fuck did someone get those files? He looks at me differently now, suspicion in his eyes. Silas doesn't move from the hallway. That night, I hear locks being changed, drawers slamming, papers rustling. I go to the hallway and whisper to Silas, "You did that, didn't you?" And for the first time, he nods. Saturday, he makes the offer. Not with words, not even thoughts this time. Just a box. It's sitting in the middle of my room when I get back from the kitchen. Inside it is my dad's watch, a ring I've never seen before, and the shattered handle of a wine glass, and a small envelope with a name written on it. Avery. Not mine. Not anyone I know. I sit on the floor beside Silas. "What do you want me to do?" I ask. He lays his head on my knee. "Finish it. That night is the end of the story I thought I was in. The power goes out just after midnight. The house is too quiet. I smell rain, but there's none. I find my dad in the kitchen, looking for candles. When he turns and sees me, he actually jumps. Then, I hear Silas's claw on the floor. Click, click, click. My dad goes pale. "Don't come any closer," he says. Silas doesn't listen. He doesn't lunge, doesn't snarl. He just moves. One step, then another. And my dad folds. I've never seen someone shrink so fast. I don't know what you think you know, he says to me, voice trembling. But I don't say anything. I just take the envelope from the box. I place it on the table in front of him. He opens it. I see the change in his eyes. Whatever was inside, it breaks him. He falls into the chair like gravity got heavier. Silas doesn't need to hurt him. He's already done enough. The next morning, my mom doesn't come back. My dad doesn't leave his room. He doesn't even come out when the cops show up 2 houses down. Apparently, Mrs. Elkins died in her sleep. Heart failure, they said. I see the coroner wheel out the body while sipping orange juice. Silas sits behind me, tail still. We watch it all. That night, I finally ask the question I've been afraid to ask. Why me? Silas lifts his head, blinks once. You're the only one who listened. I nod. I believe him. That was a month ago. Things are quiet now. My dad barely speaks. I think he's afraid of me, or of Silas, or of the things buried in the past that are finally surfacing. I don't talk to anyone at school. I just listen and wait, because last night I found something new in my backpack. A collar, small, pink, with a name tag, Avery. I think Silas is ready for our next assignment, and I think I am too. I just heard a knock at the back door. It's 2:03 a.m. Silas is already sitting there, tail wagging. Not fast, just steady. He tilts his head at me, like he's saying, it's time. I'm writing this from a hotel room in Prague. Outside my window, there's fans holding signs with my name on them. They've been there since dawn, screaming whenever someone enters or exits the building. Inside, my hands won't stop shaking. I have maybe an hour left before they come for me, and I need to tell someone what I did, what I've become. If you've been in a movie theater in the last 2 years, you know my face. The critics call me the most electrifying talent of my generation. I've got 12 million people following my Instagram. Last month, I hosted Saturday Night Live. Next month, I'm supposed to be on the cover of Vanity Fair. But that's not going to happen. 2 years ago, I was a nobody. A failed actor pushing 35, living in a cramped Studio City apartment with my wife Jennifer and our daughter Olivia. Olivia was 2 months old. I've been chasing this dream for over a decade, and all I had to show for it was 3 commercial spots and 1 non-speaking role in a show that got axed after 4 episodes. We were broke. Not struggling broke, but drowning broke. The kind where you check your bank account before buying milk. The kind where every unexpected expense feels like a death sentence. The night it happened, I just bombed another audition. Not even bombed. I'd done well at the callback. Really well. But they went with someone younger. Someone with more Instagram followers. That's what my agent told me. They loved you, Michael, but the other guy had better social media metrics. I sat in my car in that parking lot and looked at my phone. $340 in checking. My rent was due in 5 days. We were going to lose the apartment. Again. We'd already moved twice in 3 years. Each time to somewhere smaller. Somewhere worse. I thought about Jennifer that morning. The way she'd smiled at me even though I knew she was terrified. The way she said everything would work out. Even though we both knew it wouldn't. I thought about Olivia, sleeping in her crib, completely unaware that her father was a failure. Then, my car died. The check engine light had been on for months. I'd been ignoring it because the mechanic was an expense I couldn't handle. But now the whole dashboard lit up, and smoke started pouring out from under the hood. I managed to coast into a gas station before the engine seized completely. The mechanic took one look and quoted me $1,800. I actually laughed. I just pulled out my phone and opened Uber. I couldn't afford it. But I couldn't afford anything else either. It was another $20 on the credit card. We were already underwater. The app glitched when I requested the ride. The screen flickered, went black, then came back. For just a second, the map showed my location somewhere else entirely. Not Studio City. Somewhere dark. Somewhere empty. A crossroads in the middle of nothing. Then, it corrected itself, and a car was assigned. Black Lincoln town car. Driver, Lou Cipher. 5-minute wait. I should have noticed the name, but I was drowning, and drowning people don't pay attention to details. The Lincoln pulled up exactly 5 minutes later. It was pristine, gleaming like it had never seen a day of use. The windows were tinted so dark, they looked opaque. When the back door swung open by itself, I froze for just a moment. Then, I got in. The interior was hot. Not uncomfortable, but noticeable. Like someone had been running the heat, even though it was 70 degrees outside. The seats were deep red leather, real leather, and the car smelled wrong, like cinnamon and sulfur, and something else I couldn't identify. Something old. Rough day, Michael? The driver's voice was smooth, ageless. I looked up at the rearview mirror, but the angle was wrong. All I could see were his eyes, and they reflected the streetlights in a way that made my stomach turn, like an animal's eyes, like something that wasn't quite human. "How did you know my name?" I asked, even though it was a stupid question. It was on the app. "I make it my business to know my passengers," he said, "especially the desperate ones." I should have gotten out, right then, but I was too tired, too defeated. "I'm not desperate." "Of course not." I could hear the smile in his voice. "You're just a talented man who can't catch a break. A devoted father about to lose his home. A husband watching his wife's dream die because he can't provide. That's not desperation. That's just reality." My throat went dry. "How the fuck do you know that?" "I told you. I know my passengers." The car pulled away from the curb, but we weren't heading toward the freeway. "Tell me something, Michael. What would you give for success? Real success. Not one good role, but stardom. Your name above the title. Wealth beyond anything you've imagined. The ability to give your family everything they deserve." "That's not how it works," I said, but my voice sounded weak. "Or is it?" he said. "What if I told you I could make you a star, the biggest star of your generation? Within 6 months, you'll sign a 7-figure deal. Within a year, you'll be a household name. Within 2 years, you'll have everything you've ever wanted." I laughed, but it came out wrong, hollow. "What, I sell you my soul?" "Nothing so crude," he said. "Just a small favor now and then. Nothing you wouldn't have done anyway." Everyone compromises in Hollywood, Michael. Everyone does what they must. I'm just making it official. I looked out the window and realized we weren't in Studio City anymore. We weren't anywhere I recognized. The streets were empty, lined with dead trees. The traffic lights were all red, but we weren't stopping. Where are we? My heart was pounding now. "A crossroads," he said simply. "The place where decisions are made, where fates are sealed." The car stopped. We were in the middle of an intersection I'd never seen. 4 roads stretched into complete darkness. No other cars, no lights, no stars. Just emptiness in every direction. "I want to go home," I said, reaching for the door. It wouldn't open. "You will," Lou said, "after we conclude our business." He turned around, and I finally saw his face. He looked like a man, handsome, ageless, perfectly groomed, but his eyes were ancient. They held knowledge that no human should possess, and when the dashboard light hit them at the right angle, they glowed with a dull red light. "Here's my offer," he said. He produced a piece of parchment from nowhere. It was covered in elegant script, words I couldn't quite read. They seemed to shift and change when I tried to focus on them. Sign this, and I guarantee your success. You'll land a major role within a week. It'll launch your career into the stratosphere. Money, fame, respect, security. Everything you need to take care of Jennifer and Olivia. And what do you get? I said. Small favors, he said. Tasks. Opportunities to prove your commitment. Nothing that will harm you or your family directly. Just proof that you're willing to do what's necessary. He pulled out a pen. It was gold, antique, beautiful. He held it out to me. One signature, Marcus. One moment of courage, and all your problems disappear. I should have said no. God help me. I should have said no. But I thought about Jennifer's face when I told her we'd have to move back in with her parents. I thought about Olivia growing up in poverty, struggling the way I had, never having chances. I thought about being a failure for the rest of my fucking life. What kind of favors? I asked. Nothing you'll lose sleep over, he said. At least, not at first. At first? His smile widened. The first compromise is always easy, Michael. It's the later ones that reveal character. But by then, you'll have so much to lose. You'll do what's necessary. He extended the pen toward me. My hand moved before my brain could stop it. The pen was hot in my grip, almost burning. The moment I touched it, the temperature in the car spiked. The smell of sulfur became overwhelming. Just sign at the bottom, Lou said softly. Your blood, please. It makes the binding. He handed me a small golden pin. I pricked my finger. The pain was sharp and immediate. This was real. This was actually happening. I pressed my bleeding finger to the bottom of the parchment. My blood spread across the paper in patterns that weren't natural, forming my name in perfect cursive. The moment I lifted my finger, the document burst into flames. Cold flames. They gave off no heat. They consumed the paper in seconds and left no ash. Excellent, Lou said. His smile showed too many teeth. We have a deal. The world lurched. Suddenly, we were parked in front of my apartment building. The clock on the dashboard showed only 15 minutes had passed. Lou looked normal now, just an ordinary driver, though his eyes still had the ancient knowledge behind them. You'll receive a call tomorrow, he said. Answer it. And, Michael, when I ask for the first favor, don't hesitate. Hesitation breeds regret. Regret breeds failure. You're committed now. See it through. I stumbled out of the car. By the time I turned around, the Lincoln was gone, vanished. The Uber app showed the ride had been canceled. No charge, no record. I went upstairs and held Olivia for an hour, trying to convince myself I'd hallucinated the whole thing. Stress, exhaustion, a mental break. The next morning, my agent called. She was screaming, actually screaming with excitement. Michael, I don't know what happened, but David Fincher's people just called. David Fincher. They want you to audition for a lead role in his next film. You're auditioning today. They saw your reel, and you're exactly what they're looking for. I got the role. I was perfect in the audition, better than I'd ever been. It was like the character was already inside me, waiting to come out. The movie was a psychological thriller about a man who makes a Faustian bargain and has to live with the consequences. The irony wasn't lost on me. 3 weeks into filming, I got a text from an unknown number. There's an actor named Marcus Chen on your film, supporting role. He's getting too much attention. The director loves him. Critics are saying he's stealing scenes. I need you to destroy his reputation. Make him look unstable, unprofessional. Get him fired. I stared at that text for 20 minutes. Marcus was a good guy, talented. He'd been kind to me, given me advice, invited me to dinner with his wife and kids. Destroying him felt evil. But I remembered Lou's words. Don't hesitate. I told the producer he'd been behaving erratically. I gave an anonymous tip to TMZ, claiming he'd been inappropriate with crew members. None of it was true. Within a week, Michael was fired. Within a month, he couldn't book another job. His career was over. I saw him 6 months later at a coffee shop in Silver Lake. He looked hollow, broken. He didn't recognize me. I was too famous by then, too transformed. I watched him stare into his coffee with dead eyes, and I felt nothing. That was the worst part. I felt nothing. The movie was a massive hit. I was nominated for an Academy Award. I didn't win, but it didn't matter. The offers flooded in. Action franchises, prestige dramas, a Netflix deal worth $30 million. I bought a house in the hills. Jennifer stopped looking for work. Olivia had everything she needed. More than she needed. The second favor came a year later. A director I'd worked with was about to expose a studio executive's history of sexual harassment. The executive was powerful, connected to people Lou wanted to keep happy. I was instructed to convince the director to stay silent. When persuasion didn't work, I was told to threaten him. When threats didn't work, I received a file. Evidence of a drunk driving accident the director had covered up 15 years ago. An accident where someone died. I used it. The director stayed silent. The executive kept his position. He went on to abuse 17 more women over the next year. Their suffering is on my hands. The third favor involved sabotaging a rival actor's sobriety. He'd been clean for 3 years. I got him drugs. He overdosed 2 months later. He survived, but his brain was damaged. He can't work anymore. The fourth favor required me to cover up a crime committed by a producer's son. Assault. I provided an alibi. The victim was never believed. The fifth favor meant betraying a close friend to steal a role he desperately needed. His wife had cancer. They needed the money from that job. Without it, they would lose their house. She died 6 months later in a county hospital because they couldn't afford better care. Each favor was worse than the last. Each one pushed me further from the person I'd been. But I was in too deep. I had too much to lose. My family lived in luxury. Olivia went to the best private school in LA. Jennifer had everything she'd ever wanted. I was one of the biggest stars in the world. And I'd sold my soul for it. Except, it wasn't my soul Lou wanted. Last week, I got another text. Final favor. Time to complete our arrangement. I called the number. For the first time, Lou answered. "Hello, Michael," he said, and his voice sent ice through my veins. "You've done well. Better than most. You've climbed higher, compromised more thoroughly. You've become exactly what I needed you to become." "What's the final favor?" I asked, even though I didn't want to hear the answer. "You're filming in Prague," he said, "and there's a young actress there, Sofia Kovar, 23 years old. Extraordinary talent. In 5 years, she'll be more famous than you. In 10 years, she'll be one of the greatest actresses of all time. She'll inspire millions. She'll use her platform for genuine good." My stomach dropped. "I need you to kill her," Lou said. "Make it look like an accident. You'll be the last person to see her alive, but you're famous. Beloved. No one will suspect you. This is your final task, Michael. Complete it, and our deal is fulfilled. You keep everything. Refuse, and you lose it all. The fame, the money, the success, everything collapses. And more than that." "More?" I whispered. "I'll take what you value most," he said. "Though die slowly, painfully. And you'll watch. You'll be powerless to stop it. That's the price of refusal. So, you see, Michael, you don't really have a choice. You stopped having choices the moment you signed. He hung up. I've been in this hotel room for 3 days, trying to think of a way out. There isn't one. If I kill Sophia, I become a murderer, a monster. But I keep my family safe. If I refuse, Jennifer and Olivia die, and my refusal won't save Sophia anyway. Lou will just find someone else to fucking do it. Another desperate actor, another fool willing to make a deal. I can't win, but I've realized something else. Something worse. I'm not human anymore. Not really. Every favor I've completed, every compromise I've made, every life I destroyed, they changed me. Piece by piece, choice by choice. I became something else. Something hollow. When I look in the mirror now, sometimes I see my eyes reflecting light, the way Lou's did. That dull red glow. I think that was always the point. He wasn't collecting my soul at the end. He was transforming it throughout, making me into something like him. Something that could do what he does. Offer deals to desperate people, corrupt them, destroy them. I think I'm becoming the next driver, the next Lou Cypher. There's a knock at my door. I can smell sulfur through the wood. He's here. I have to decide right now, kill Sophia and complete my transformation into a demon, or refuse and watch my family die, knowing it won't save anyone. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Actually, that's a lie. I know exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to walk out of this hotel room. I'm going to meet Sophia for dinner like we planned. She's excited to work with me. She said I'm her hero. And I'm going to. Wait. Something's wrong. My hands. They're not shaking anymore. They're steady. And I'm not scared anymore. I'm hungry. I think I've already decided. I think I decided the moment I signed. I can hear her in the hallway now. Sophia, laughing about something. She's talking to someone on her phone. Her voice is bright, full of life, full of potential. I'm standing up. I'm walking to the door. I'm smiling. This is my testimony. This is my confession. But it's too late for it to matter. If you're reading this, I'm already gone. Not dead. Worse than dead. And whatever comes after you sign away your humanity piece by piece until there's nothing left but hunger. I'm the next driver. And I'm already looking for my first passenger. If you ever find yourself in an Uber with a driver whose name seems a little too clever, whose eyes reflect the light wrong, who knows things about you he shouldn't, get out. Get out while you still can. Because once you sign, you've already lost. The door is opening. Sophia's smiling at me. And I'm smiling back. The drive up was fine. Snow started falling an hour outside the nearest town, but I've done worse. The rental company said the generator was full, the woodpile stacked, the satellite Wi-Fi iffy, but enough to check emails. I didn't even care. I wasn't there to scroll. I was there to write. To finish something. The cabin was small, but perfect. One room, one bed, a little stove, desk by the window. No neighbors, no traffic, no distractions. Just trees, snow, and silence. The first day passed easy. I unpacked, lit a fire, made tea. Typed maybe 1,000 words, just clearing the pipes. Night fell fast. The storm moved in harder than expected. Dense white swallowing the trees by 6 p.m. The windows frosted over. Wind howled like it was trying to find a way in. but inside, it was warm, safe. Around midnight, the power cut. Lights blinked out. The heater clicked twice, then went dead. I wasn't surprised. Mountain weather always wins eventually. I grabbed a flashlight, pulled on boots and a jacket, and stepped out to check the generator behind the cabin. The wind hit like a wall, needles of cold against my skin. That's when I saw her, just past the edge of the trees, maybe 20 feet out, standing completely still. A woman in white, long black hair, bare feet, a thin robe that moved gently in the wind, but she didn't. She didn't flinch, or sway, or shiver. She didn't seem real. My first thought was mannequin, some idiot hiker prank. Second, a trick of the snow. I stepped forward, then blinked, and she was gone. No sound, no movement, no tracks in the snow, just wind and the creak of trees. I stood there way too long, watching where she had been, waiting for something. A laugh, a footstep, a shift in shadow. But nothing came. I turned the generator back on, walked inside, and locked the door. Back at the desk, I tried to write. I managed 3 sentences, none of them good. Eventually, I gave up, rolled under the blanket. The fire had burned low. I stared at the window across the room. It had stopped frosting. Because it was open, not cracked. Open, wide enough for someone to step through. I didn't sleep after that. I closed the window, lock it, push the desk in front of it just to be sure. The fire's low, but I don't want to open the door again. So, I sit, wrapped in a blanket, staring at the glass. Nothing happens. Not that night. But I don't sleep. The next morning, everything looks normal. Almost. Snow piled up against the cabin walls, high enough now to bury the steps. The sky's a flat, pale gray. I don't hear any birds or wind. It's quiet. The kind of quiet that hums in your skull after a sound cuts out. I check around the cabin just to prove to myself that I'm fine. There's nothing in the snow. No tracks. Not from me. Not from her. Not from anything. I keep telling myself it was a dream. A sleep-deprived hallucination. Too much stress. Cabin fever. Even though I've only been here 2 days. But that night, she's back. I don't see her at first. I just feel it. The shift in the air. Like someone's watching. I lift my eyes from the screen, and there she is, across the snow. Closer now. Just outside the line of trees, standing in the exact same position. Same long robe. Same hair fluttering in the wind. Same stillness. Except now, she's turned slightly toward the cabin. Toward me. I turn off the lamp, crouch behind the desk. Wait. Watch. She doesn't move. I check the windows again. Locked. Frosted over except for the one I'm watching through. I sit there until the fire dies, and she never moves. By morning, she's gone. I step outside with my boots on and check. Still, no tracks. But the snow by the window is lower than it should be. Like something stood there for a while. Like the warmth of a body melted it. Just enough to leave a dip. I board up the windows that afternoon. All of them. Tear the disc apart and use drawers for extra wood. Hammer in the nails I find in the shed. Shut every blind. Write a few lines to distract myself. Something about a man trapped in a cabin, writing stories he doesn't remember starting. When I look again, the page is full. Paragraphs I don't remember typing. Descriptions of a woman in white. The way her breath doesn't fog in the cold. The sound her bare feet make as they don't crunch the snow. That night, I wake up freezing. There's snow on the floor, wind where there shouldn't be wind, and the softest whisper I've ever heard. She's not at the window anymore. She's closer, and I can't find where the voice is coming from. I don't leave the cabin anymore. There's no point. The snow hasn't stopped in 3 days. I can't see the trees anymore. Just white. Endless white. Like the world has been erased. And the cold's different now. It's not outside. It's inside. In the floorboards, the mattress, the paper. Me. I stopped trying to keep the fire going. It doesn't help. The flames burn, sure, but they don't give off heat. It's like something sucking it out of the room faster than I can feed it. I sleep in bursts, wrapped in everything I own. Blankets, towels, my coat. I dream of her voice now. Always soft. Always distant. It's warmer out here. The writing keeps happening without me. Every time I check my notebooks, it's full of things I didn't write. Scenes, memories, dialogues I've never lived. Descriptions of her, so vivid, it feels like I'm reading someone else's obsession. But the worst is the date. The last entry I remember writing was 3 days ago. The notebook says today is February 12th. It was the 4th when I got here. I've lost 8 days. There's snow in the kitchen now. Just a light dusting across the table, over the stove, like it fell through the roof. But the ceiling's dry. No leaks. It melts when I touch it. But the chair across from mine stays cold all night. Like someone sits there when I'm not looking. Last night, I heard the doorknob turn. Not rattle. Turn. Slow. Careful. Testing. I didn't breathe. I didn't move. I just watched it from the floor, clutching the fireplace poker like it could do anything. The knob stopped. And then, I saw it. Not her. Her shadow. Sliding across the window like it was made of smoke. No footsteps. No frost. Just a woman's shape. Tall. Still. Smiling. This morning, I found a handprint on the inside of the glass. No other marks. Just that. Fingers long and perfectly spaced, pressed gently against the window. It hadn't melted. It didn't even frost over. It's just there, like it belongs. Tonight, I can't feel my hands. My lips are numb. My breath is slow. But I'm not scared anymore, because I know she's not coming in. She's already here. And maybe he always was. I woke up on the floor this morning. No blanket, no fire, just snow. Not a drift, not a patch, a layer, white and perfect, spread across the entire cabin like a fresh coat of paint. I can see my breath, but I can't feel it. My body stopped warning me. I move like I'm underwater, slow, detached, like I'm watching someone else crawl across the floor to check the window. The handprint's still there. Only now, there are 2. I burned everything. The notebook, my drafts, the maps, the guidebook, all of it. I thought maybe if I erased the story, it would erase her too. The fire roared like it mattered again for the first time in days. But when it died down, the ashes were gone, and the pages were back on the desk. Neat, unburned, but rewritten, word for word. She stands in the snow and waits. She always waits, until the cold is quiet, until you stop struggling, until you love the silence as much as she does. There's snow in my lungs. I cough and it rattles like glass. I bleed cold. My fingernails are blue. My breath fogs the mirror. But it's not my reflection. He just stares back. Still, frost clinging to his eyelashes. And for a second, I think I see her standing behind him. Closer now. Always getting closer. I opened the door an hour ago. There was no wind, no sound. Just her, standing on the porch. She didn't knock, didn't speak. She just smiled. I should have shut the door. I meant to. But instead, I stepped aside, and she came in. She doesn't walk like a person. She floats across the floor, over the melted snow, moving through the cabin like it belongs to her. She kneels beside me. Her fingers are ice, but I don't flinch when she touches my face. Because the warmth is gone. Because I gave it to her. Because she asked for nothing, and she still took everything. And I don't feel scared. I feel tired. Like all the noise in my head is finally gone. Like she reached inside and quieted me. She leans in, her lips near mine, and she breathes out. A week later, a ranger snowshoeing through the valley spots the cabin, door wide open. Inside, a small fire still smoldering, a chair overturned, a cup of tea frozen solid, and snow layered across the floor like it fell there naturally. No signs of struggle, no blood, no prints. Just one thing on the windowsill, a perfect handprint in frost. If you made it this far, you're colder than you were when we started. Don't forget to follow the show wherever you listen. Leave us a 5-star rating on Spotify. It helps us stay alive out here. And if you want bonus stories every month, you can support us with the link in the description and keep this show alive. Until next time, leave the door locked and don't look out the window after dark. I used to think the dead were peaceful, that once someone passed, they were simply gone, their body just an empty vessel waiting for burial or cremation. I don't think that anymore. My name's Justin. 5 days ago, I started working as a night attendant at County Memorial Hospital's morgue. 4 days ago, I discovered something the police still don't believe. Something that cost 3 people their lives, while I stood there and did nothing. I'm a medical student. Or I was. 3rd year. Drowning in debt. Barely scraping by on ramen and hope. When I saw the posting for a morgue attendant position, night shift, $18 an hour, I applied immediately. The pay was decent, and more importantly, the overnight schedule meant I could attend classes during the day. The interview was brief. The hospital administrator, a tired woman named Mrs. Chen, asked me if I was comfortable working alone with deceased individuals. I said yes. She asked if I had any issues with the night shift. I said no. She hired me on the spot. "You'll be working under Dr. Raymond Corver," she said, sliding paperwork across her desk. "He's our pathologist. He'll train you on procedures. Just do what he says, follow protocol, and you'll be fine." Dr. Corver was waiting for me in the morgue on my first night. He was a tall man, maybe 50, with salt and pepper hair and wire-rimmed glasses. He has the kind of face that might have been handsome once, but had been worn down by years of long hours and fluorescent lighting. "Justin," he said, shaking my hand. His grip was firm, his hands cold. "Welcome to the night shift. Let me show you around." The morgue was exactly what you'd expect. Sterile, white walls, stainless steel tables, the smell of formaldehyde and industrial cleaner, a wall of refrigerated drawers, each one numbered, a desk with a computer for logging intake and release. Everything was clean. Everything organized. Everything quiet. Your primary responsibility is intake, Dr. Corver explained. When a body arrives, you log it in the system, assign it a drawer, tag it, and notify me for examination. You'll also handle releases to funeral homes during your shift, though those are pretty rare at night. Mostly, you'll be doing paperwork and making sure everything is properly documented. Sounds straightforward, I said. He smiled. It is. The dead are easy to work with. They don't complain, they don't argue, and they're always patient. He walked over to the wall of drawers. We have capacity for 48 bodies. Right now, we're at about 60%. The drawers are temperature controlled, and each one has a tag system. You scan the barcode when you put someone in, scan it when you take them out. Everything is tracked. And he spent the next 2 hours training me on the computer system, showing me how to log bodies, how to handle the tags, how to prepare bodies for examination. It was clinical, methodical, and honestly, easier than I expected. You'll do fine, Dr. Corver said as he prepared to leave. I'll be in my office upstairs if you need anything. I usually come down around 2 a.m. to do examinations on my new arrivals. Otherwise, just call if there's an issue. My first night was quiet. One intake, around 11 p.m. An elderly woman who died of natural causes at a nursing home. I logged her in, assigned her to drawer 23, tagged her, and sent Dr. Corver an email notification. He came down around midnight, did a preliminary examination, and left. The rest of the night, I sat at the desk, studying for my anatomy exam, occasionally checking the security camera that showed the empty hallways leading to the morgue. By 6 a.m., my replacement arrived. I felt like I'd gotten paid to study. Easy money. The second and third nights were similar. A few intakes, some paperwork, hours of quiet study time. Dr. Corver was always professional, always thorough in his examinations, and I started to relax into the routine. Then came the fourth night. It started normally. I arrived at 10 p.m., did a walkthrough of the morgue, checked the log. We had 31 bodies currently in storage. Dr. Corver arrived shortly after, coffee in hand. Quiet night so far? He asked. Yeah, nothing scheduled for intake. Good. I've got some paperwork to catch up on. Call me if anything comes in. He disappeared upstairs to his office, and I settled in at the desk with my textbooks. The hours ticked by. 11 p.m., midnight, 1 a.m. At 1:47 a.m., my phone buzzed. Intake notification. An ambulance was en route with a body. Male, mid-30s. Suspected overdose. ETA, 5 minutes. I texted Dr. Corver to let him know, then went to prepare the intake area. The loading bay door, the gurney, the paperwork, everything's ready. The ambulance arrived at 1:52 a.m. 2 paramedics wheeled in a body bag on a stretcher. They looked tired, eager to hand off their cargo and leave. Suspected OD, one of them said, passing me the transfer paperwork. Found him in a motel room. Been dead maybe 6 to 8 hours. I signed the forms, and they left quickly, the ambulance pulling away into the night. I wheeled the gurney into the morgue, began the intake process. The body bag was standard issue, black, heavy duty, zipper. I logged the arrival time, the preliminary cause of death, and then unzipped the bag to attach the identification tag. The man inside was young, maybe 35, like the report said. Brown hair, pale skin, dressed in jeans and a t-shirt. His eyes were closed, face slack. He looked almost peaceful. I was reaching for the toe tag when I noticed something odd. His fingernails were dirty. Not just dirty, but caked with what looked like soil or clay. And there were scratches on his hands, fresh ones, like he'd been clawing something. I checked the paperwork again. Suspected overdose. Found in a motel room. So why did his hands look like he'd been digging? I took photos for the file, attached the toe tag, and assigned him to drawer 12. Then I sent Dr. Corver the notification and waited. He came down at 2:15 a.m., later than usual. When he entered the morgue, I noticed he looked different, more alert, almost energized. "New arrival?" he asked. "Yeah, drawer 12. Suspected overdose. But there are some inconsistencies. His hands... I'll take a look." He walked past me to drawer 12, pulled it open, and studied the body for a long moment. "Did the paramedics say anything else?" Just that he was found in a motel room, dead 6 to 8 hours." Dr. Corver nodded slowly, then closed the drawer. "I'll do a full examination later. Probably just some post-mortem changes. Bodies do strange things after death." He went back upstairs, and I returned to my desk. But something felt off. The way Dr. Corver had looked at the body. The way he dismissed my concerns so quickly. I pulled up the intake records on the computer, scrolling through the past few weeks of arrivals. Most were what you'd expect. Elderly patients, accident victims, natural causes. But there were others. 4 in the past month. All male. All between 30 and 40. All listed as suspected overdoses or accidents. And all of them had been brought in during the night shift. During my predecessor's shift. I looked up at my predecessor's name in the system. Daniel Walsh. He worked here for 3 months before quitting suddenly 2 weeks ago. Right before I was hired. I tried to find him online. No social media. No contact info. Just a name in the employee directory that had been marked as terminated. I was about to close the browser when I noticed something else. Each of the 4 suspicious arrivals had been examined by Dr. Corver within an hour of intake, and each one had been released to the same funeral home, Riverside Cremation Services. I'd never heard of them, so I looked them up. The website was bare bones. No photos, no staff directory, just an address and a phone number. And the address was interesting. An industrial area on the outskirts of town. The kind of place with warehouses and storage facilities, not funeral homes. My phone buzzed. A text from Dr. Corver. "Can you come to my office? Need to discuss the new arrival." I felt a chill run through me. Something was off. Something was wrong. But I couldn't just leave. Couldn't just walk out without knowing what was happening. So, I climbed the stairs to the administration level, walked down the empty hallway, and knocked on Dr. Corver's office door. "Come in," his voice said. I opened the door. Dr. Corver was sitting at his desk, but he wasn't alone. There was another man in the room, younger, maybe 40, wearing a maintenance uniform. He was standing near the window, and when he turned to look at me, I saw his eyes were flat, empty. "Justin, this is Michael," Dr. Corver said. "He helps me with certain aspects of my work." "I don't understand," I said, my hand still on the doorknob. Close the door, Justin." Every instinct screamed at me to run, but I closed the door, stood there, waiting. Dr. Corver stood up, walked around his desk. "You've been doing excellent work. Very thorough. Very observant. That's why I need to explain something to you." "Explain what?" "The man who came in tonight, he's not a victim of an overdose. He's a victim of necessity." My blood went cold. "What are you talking about?" "The hospital's struggling, Justin. Underfunded, understaffed. The morgue alone loses money every year. But there's people out there, desperate people, who will pay significant amounts for certain services. Fresh organs, clean tissue, bodies that can be cremated without anyone asking questions." I stared at him. "You're killing people?" "I'm providing a service and creating opportunities for financial stability. Those 4 men from the last month, homeless, addicts, people no one was looking for, people who wouldn't be missed. That's murder." "That's pragmatism." He took a step toward me. "And now you're part of it. You've processed the body. You've logged it. Your signature is on the intake paperwork. If you go to the police, you'll be complicit." I didn't know." "But you do now. And now you have a choice. You can walk out of here, keep your mouth shut, collect your paychecks, and finish medical school. Or you can try to be a hero, and Michael here will make sure you become our next intake." The man by the window, Michael, reached into his jacket. I saw the glint of a knife. I looked at Dr. Corver, at his calm expression, at the absolute certainty in his eyes. He'd done this before. Probably threatened Daniel Walsh the same way. Probably threatened others. "I need to think about it," I said, my voice shaking. "Of course, take your time. But, Justin," he smiled, "don't take too long. And don't do anything stupid. We'll be watching." I walked out of his office on legs that barely worked, went back down to the morgue, sat at that desk, staring at the wall of drawers, knowing that behind door 12 was a man who'd been murdered. A man whose death I was now a part of. I pulled out my phone, hands shaking, and called 911. "I need to report a murder," I said when the operator answered. "County Memorial Hospital, the morgue. The night pathologist, Dr. Raymond Corver. He's killing people." The operator asked me to stay on the line, asked me to explain. I told her everything, my words tumbling out in a panicked rush. "Officers en route," she said. "Stay where you are. Don't confront anyone. Help is coming." I hung up and waited. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, watching the security camera showing the hallway. Watching the security camera showing the hallway. Watching for police. Watching for Michael with his knife. Then, I heard it. A sound from drawer 12. A thump. Like something moving inside. I stood up, walked slowly to the wall of drawers. The sound came again. Definitely from drawer 12. I reached out, my hand trembling, and pulled the handle. The drawer slid open. The body was sitting up, eyes wide open, staring at me, mouth open in a silent scream. And I could see now what I'd missed before. The needle mark in the man's neck, the bruising that suggested he'd been held down, the terror frozen on his face. The man hadn't died from an overdose. He died fighting. Behind me, the morgue door opened. I spun around. Dr. Corver stood there, with Michael beside him, and in Dr. Corver's hand was a syringe. "I told you not to do anything stupid," he said. I ran, didn't think, just moved, pushed past them, out in the hallway, toward the loading bay. Behind me, I heard footsteps. Michael, fast and heavy. I burst through the loading bay door into the parking lot, screaming for help. A security guard was doing his rounds, saw me, saw Michael chasing me. "Help!" I screamed. "He's trying to kill me!" The security guard pulled his radio, started calling for backup. Michael stopped, looked at the guard, then at me, and ran back inside. The police arrived 6 minutes later. I told them everything. They searched Dr. Corver's office, found records of the illegal sales, found evidence of the murders. They arrested him and Michael in the parking lot as they tried to leave. They found 4 more bodies. Men who'd been killed over the past 3 months. Men who'd been reported as overdoses or accidents. Men whose organs had been harvested and sold. Daniel Walsh, my predecessor. They found him in drawer 38. He'd been there for 2 weeks, labeled as a John Doe. Dr. Corver had killed him when he threatened to go to the police. The trial was 3 months ago. Dr. Corver and Michael were both convicted. Life sentences. No possibility of parole. I should feel relief. Should feel like justice was served. But I can't sleep anymore. Can't close my eyes without seeing drawer 12 opening. Without seeing that man sitting up, his dead eyes staring at me. His mouth open in that frozen scream. The doctors say it was just a post-mortem muscle contraction. That bodies can move after death due to gases building up. That what I saw wasn't real. But I know what I saw. I know that man sat up. I know he was trying to tell me something. And sometimes, late at night, I wonder if he was the only one. If the other bodies in those drawers, the ones I processed, the ones I tagged and logged and sent to be cremated, if they were still aware, still trapped, still screaming silently behind refrigerated steel. I dropped out of medical school. Couldn't continue after everything that happened. Now I work at a library, day shift, surrounded by living people. But I still have nightmares. Dreams where I'm back in that morgue, and all 48 drawers are opening at once, and the bodies inside are all sitting up, all staring at me, all asking the same question. Why didn't you save us sooner? I don't have an answer for them. I never will. The train's late again. It's just past midnight, and Hanamachi Station's nearly empty. The platform is washed in flickering fluorescent light, buzzing faintly overhead. A vending machine hums nearby, like it's trying to murmur something, and a torn advertisement flaps lazily in the stale air. I'm running on maybe 2 to 3 hours of sleep from the past 2 days combined. My last final wrecked me. I don't even remember what class it was. Just a blur of scantrons, caffeine, and cold sweat. Everything feels floaty now. Unreal. Like I'm stuck in a dream that forgot to end. I glance at the clock. 12:04 a.m. Close my eyes. Just for a second. When I open them, she's there. Across the tracks. On the opposite platform. She wasn't there before. She stands perfectly still beneath a broken light that flickers just enough to make her edges seem wrong. Long red coat. Dark, shoulder-length hair. A white surgical mask covers the lower half of her face. I can't tell if she's looking at me. Then, her head tilts slightly to the side. Not the way people normally tilt their heads. Too slow. Too deliberate. Her right hand lifts, just a little, and hovers in the air, fingers twitching like they're reaching for something that isn't there. I pull out one earbud. That's when I hear her. A voice, soft and far too clear across the distance, like it's bypassing the air between us and landing straight in my ear. The words sink into me. I don't mean emotionally. It feels physical, like they settle under my skin and curl up behind my eyes. No one else reacts. There's an older woman a few benches down, with her head bowed over a plastic shopping bag, and a guy in a hoodie scrolling his phone by the far exit. No one even looks up. Just me. I blink, and she's gone. The train screeches in a few minutes later. I board and sit, eyes locked on my reflection in the window. The usual late-night blur of city lights streak past outside, but I don't see them. All I can think about is her, that mask, that voice. I keep telling myself I imagined it. Stress, exhaustion, sleep deprivation. It messes with your perception, right? But when I get home, throw my bag down and pass the hallway mirror, I pause. Something's off. I step closer and look. My reflection is delayed. A fraction of a second, just enough to make my stomach twist. I lift my hand. My reflection follows, but late. And for a heartbeat, I see something else behind me. A smear of red, the edge of a coat disappearing around the corner of the hallway. I spin. Nothing. Silence. Just the hum of the fridge, the buzz of the overhead light. But the echo of her question still hangs in the back of my mind. And it's not just a memory. It's waiting for an answer. I can't stop thinking about her. The woman in the red coat, the surgical mask, the voice. I tell myself I was hallucinating. Just another casualty of zero sleep and too much caffeine. but it doesn't feel like something my brain made up. It felt inserted, like someone slipped a memory into my head that doesn't belong there. And now, she's everywhere. I start seeing her in windows, not out in the street, in the glass, like reflections that don't belong. I'll be on the train, staring blankly out the smudged window as the city blurs past, and I'll catch a flash of her standing behind me. Same red coat, same stillness, same tilt of the head. But when I turn around, she never moves. Not in the reflections, only closer. The worst is the bathroom mirror. It starts when I'm brushing my teeth. I lean in to spit, glance up, and there she is, standing at the end of the hall behind me. Far away, but facing me. Unmoving. I whip around. The hallway's empty. I look back at the mirror. Gone. But the reflection lingers for half a second too long. Like it's catching up. Like it's thinking. I start keeping the mirror covered with an old hoodie. It doesn't help. One night, I'm half asleep and hear whispering. Just one phrase, again and again.
Am I pretty? Am I pretty? Am I pretty?
Soft, measured, coming from inside my apartment. I sit up, heart pounding. I don't move. I just listen. It's coming from the closet. I don't open it. The next day, I skip class. I'm too tired to think. I tell my roommate I've got food poisoning. He just stares at me for a moment, then says, "You've been talking in your sleep, you know." What? He nods. Last night around 3, you kept saying, I didn't answer, over and over. I freeze. He frowns. You also got something on your cheek. I touch my face. A thin red line traces down from my left cheekbone toward my lip, like a paper cut. I don't remember cutting myself. I didn't even feel it. The subway platform feels different now. Colder. Hushed. No more snoring old ladies. No more half-asleep commuters. Just me and flickering lights. And shadows that look too much like people standing perfectly still at the edge of the platform. One night, I catch my reflection in the train window again. She's not behind me this time. She's in my seat, sitting next to me, staring ahead. I don't look. It gets worse. I start dreaming about masks. Dozens of them. Surgical. Hanging from strings like wind chimes in some pitch-black hallway. Every time I turn a corner, there she is. Closer. She never says it in the dream. Never asks. She just stares. Eyes wide. Mouth hidden behind that white mask that looks damp at the edges. Like she's been breathing too hard. Or like something wet is leaking through. In the final dream, I pull the mask off her face. The skin doesn't end where her mouth should. It keeps going. She opens it wider. I wake up gasping, and my pillow's soaked with sweat. My phone buzzes. It's 2:03 a.m. There's a notification. Camera detected movement in the living room. But the thumbnail preview shows my living room couch, and someone sitting on it, wearing red. There's something in my apartment. I don't go out there. Not right away. I just lie in bed and stare at the screen, at the figure sitting on my couch, still as stone, just barely visible in the grainy dark. Red coat, white mask, head tilted. The security app glitches. The screen flickers. She disappears, then reappears closer, sitting at the edge of the frame now, facing the hallway, facing me. I grab the baseball bat I haven't touched since high school and inch into the hallway, heart thudding in my ears. Living room's empty. I check behind the couch, under it, nothing. But the air's heavy, dense, like the apartment's holding its breath. And there, on the coffee table, is something I know wasn't there before. A folded paper surgical mask, still warm. I stop riding the subway after that. Doesn't matter. I see her anyway. She stands across the street when I'm leaving class, behind the trees when I'm walking through the quad, reflected in the darkened screens of my computer lab monitors when they shut down for the night. She never moves, just watches. She's waiting for something. I think I know that. I think I know what. I'm walking home late when it happens. The streets are mostly empty. It's drizzling, and the wet pavement glows under the streetlights. My phone dies without warning. Screen just goes black, battery full. That's when I see her, half a block ahead, just standing there under a broken streetlight. Red coat, mask, long black hair. She doesn't say anything at first. Then, across the distance, her voice floats through the wet air like breath on glass.
Am I pretty?
It's soft, but I hear it like she whispered it right into my ear. I stop. She starts walking toward me. Slow, deliberate, each step impossibly quiet on the wet pavement.
Am I pretty?
The voice is in my head now. I can feel it behind my eyes. I back away. She keeps coming. There's no right answer. I know that now. If I say yes, she shows me how much prettier she can be. If I say no, she carves a smile so I can't look away. If I run, I don't run. She stops inches in front of me. I can see her eyes now, wide, unblinking, too many eyelashes, like there's layers of them. She reaches for her mask. My breath catches, and she pulls it down. Her mouth is carved from ear to ear, too deep, too jagged, too wet. The flesh peeled back like an open wound, lips pulled into a grin not meant for smiling. But there's something else, behind the mouth. The teeth that aren't human, small and glinting and endless. She leans in, mouth stretching impossibly wide, and whispers. I don't remember getting home. I wake up the next day in my bed, face wet, shoes still on. But something's wrong. The mirrors don't work anymore. I mean, they reflect the room, the walls, the ceiling. Just not me. People don't look at me the same. Professors avoid eye contact. My roommate moved out without saying a word. And when I talk, people flinch. I've started wearing a mask. I don't remember putting it on. I just feel better when it's there. Some nights, I go back to the subway, stand on the platform, wait. Across the tracks, sometimes there's someone there, half asleep, earbuds in, too tired to notice the still figure in red. I raise my hand, slowly, tilt my head, and ask, "Am I pretty?" If you're enjoying the show, follow us on Spotify and leave a rating. It helps us more than you know. And if you want exclusive stories that never go public, Spotify subscriptions are open for just $3 a month. Link in the description. There's a specific kind of silence that only exists in a suburban house at 3 a.m. It's not peaceful. It's heavy. It presses against the windows like water against the glass of a submarine. When you're a new parent, that silence is your enemy. You spend your nights listening for things that break it. A cough, a whimper, the rustle of sheets. My husband, David, sleeps like he's dead. He's a good man, a hard worker. But once his head hits the pillow, a marching band couldn't wake him up. That leaves me. Me, the baby monitor, and the silence. We have one of those high-end monitors for our 2-year-old, Leo. It connects to the Wi-Fi, sends alerts to my phone, and has a night vision camera that turns Leo's nursery into a grainy green alien landscape. I usually keep the audio low on the nightstand, and just a hum of white noise to let me know that the connection hasn't dropped. 3 nights ago, the white noise stopped. It didn't fade out. It cut, like someone had pinched the wire. I woke up instantly. The silence in the bedroom was sudden and absolute. I rolled over, blinking the sleep out of my eyes, and tapped the screen on the dedicated monitor unit on the nightstand. The feed was frozen. It showed Leo's crib, but the image was pixelated and distorted, trapped in a jagged stillness. I sighed, rubbing my temples. Great. The Wi-Fi's down again. I was about to reach over and shake David awake to go reset the router when the audio crackled back to life. It was loud, much louder than I had left it. Too small. The voice was a whisper, but it sounded wet, like someone speaking with a mouthful of saliva. I froze. My hand hovered over David's shoulder. The angle's wrong, the voice hissed. Bones have to snap. Snap to fit. My heart hammered a frantic rhythm against my ribs. That wasn't David. It wasn't the TV. That voice was coming from the nursery. I grabbed the monitor, bringing it closer to my face. The video feed unfroze. The green, grainy image swept across the room. There was the changing table, the rocking chair, the pile of stuffed animals in the corner. In the crib, Leo was there, curled into a ball, his thumb in his mouth. He was asleep. The room was empty. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. It must have been interference, I told myself. It's just interference. We live in a townhouse complex. The walls are thin, and signals cross all the time. I was probably picking up a cell phone conversation, or a neighbor's baby monitor. Someone watching a horror movie, maybe. I turned the volume down, convinced myself I was being paranoid, and tried to go back to sleep. But I kept one eye open, and I watched the corner of the room on that tiny screen, the corner where the rocking chair sat. Because, for a split second, just before the feed stabilized, I thought I saw the shadows behind the chair move, not like a shadow cast by a tree branch, but like a shadow that was unfolding. The next morning, the sun washed away the fear. That's how it always works, isn't it? Daylight makes you feel stupid for being scared of the dark. I was in the kitchen making coffee while Leo played on the floor with his blocks. David walked in, adjusting his tie. "Did you hear anything weird last night?" I asked, trying to sound casual. David laughed, pouring himself a mug. "Aside from you stealing the blankets, no. Why?" The monitor was acting up, picking up signals again. "We should change the password," David said, taking a sip. "I'll do it tonight." He kissed me on the forehead and left for work. I watched him go, feeling a knot of anxiety tighten in my stomach. I looked down at Leo. He was stacking blocks. Red, blue, yellow. But he wasn't building a tower. He was building a wall. A long, straight line of blocks across the kitchen tile. "What you building, bud?" I asked, crouching down. Leo didn't look up. "A house. For the tall man." The coffee in my stomach turned to acid. "Who?" "The tall man," Leo said matter-of-factly. He picked up a green block and placed it carefully on top of the wall. "He lives in the corner. He has to bend his neck so he doesn't hit the ceiling." I stared at my son. He's 2. He picks up things from cartoons, from books. The tall man? It sounded like a character from a nursery rhyme I didn't know. "Is the tall man nice?" I asked, my voice trembling slightly. Leo stopped playing. He looked up at me with those big, innocent brown eyes. "No," he whispered. "He's hungry." I spent the rest of the day out of the house. We went to the park, the library, the grocery store, anywhere that wasn't that nursery. When we finally got home, I put Leo down for his nap and stood in the doorway of his room for a long time. I checked the closet. I checked under the crib. I even checked behind the curtains. Nothing. Just a nursery. Just a room painted soft yellow, smelling of baby powder and laundry detergent. Get a grip, I told myself. You're losing it. That night, David changed the Wi-Fi password. He reset the monitor. He even walked around the room with me, checking the windows. "See?" he said, locking the sash. "Fort Knox. Nobody's getting in, nobody's getting out." We went to bed at 11 p.m. I watched the monitor for an hour, staring at the green image of Leo sleeping, until my eyelids grew too heavy to keep open. I woke up at 3:13 a.m. It wasn't a sound that woke me up this time. It was a smell. It smelled like ozone, like the air right before a thunderstorm, mixed with something copper and metallic, old pennies. blood. I sat up. The room was freezing. The central air wasn't on, but I could see my breath pluming in the dark. I looked at the monitor. The screen was black. Not off. Black. The backlight was on, emitting a dull gray glow, but the video feed was total darkness. I tapped the screen. Nothing. Then, the audio kicked in. It wasn't whispering this time. It was breathing. Long, rattling inhalations, like air being pulled through a crushed windpipe. And then, a sound that made my blood freeze in my veins. The sound of the rocking chair in the nursery, creaking. I shook David hard. "David!" I hissed. "David, wake up!" He groaned, rolling over. What is it?" "Someone's in the nursery." That woke him up. He sat up, instantly alert. He grabbed the baseball bat he keeps under the bed. A cliché, I know, but in that moment, I was grateful for it. "Stay here," he said. His voice was low, steady. The protective husband. "No," I said, grabbing my phone. "I'm calling 911. "Just wait," he commanded. "Let me check. It's probably the cat." "We don't have a cat." David moved to the door. I watched him step into the hallway. I heard his footsteps on the hardwood floor, moving toward Leo's room at the end of the hall. I looked down at the monitor again. The blackness on the screen flickered. A shape appeared. It was the night vision adjusting. The room came into focus. The rocking chair was moving, back and forth. But it was empty. "David!" I screamed, scrambling out of bed. On the monitor feed, the door to the nursery opened. I saw David enter. He raised the bat, scanning the room. I watched on the tiny screen as he checked the closet. He checked behind the curtains. He walked over to the rocking chair and put a hand on it to stop it from moving. He looked into the camera, right at me through the lens, and gave me a thumbs up. "It's okay," the gesture said. "It's empty." I slumped against the doorframe, relief washing over me. He was right. And maybe it was a malfunction. Maybe I was going crazy. I looked back down at the monitor to watch him leave the room. And that's when I saw it. David was standing by the crib now, looking down at Leo. But behind him, in the corner of the room, near the ceiling, there was a dark patch on the wall. It looked like a stain at first, but then the stain detached itself. It was a limb, a long, impossibly thin arm unfolding from the upper corner of the room like a spider leg. It was gray, almost translucent in the night vision. It had too many joints. It reached down. I screamed. I didn't form words. I just screamed David's name with every ounce of air in my lungs. I ran into the hallway. I heard David yell from the nursery. "Julie, what's wrong?" "Behind you!" I shrieked, sprinting down the hall. "David, it's behind you!" I burst into the nursery. David spun around, bat raised, eyes wide with panic. What is it?" he shouted. I scanned the room. The corner was empty. The ceiling was empty. The rocking chair sat still. Leo was sitting up in his crib, crying now, woken by the screaming. "I saw it," I gasped, backing against the wall, my eyes darting around the room. "I saw it on the monitor. It was right there. It was reaching for you." David lowered the bat. He looked at me, then at the empty corner. He looked terrified. Not of a monster, but of me. Of his wife, unraveling in the middle of the night. "Julie," he said softly. "There's no one here." He walked over to me, reaching out to hold my shoulders. "Honey, you're shaking. You're having a nightmare." "No," I sobbed. "It was real. The tall man. Leo said—" "Stop," David said firmly. Let's get Leo. We'll all sleep in our room tonight, okay? We'll just get out of here." He went to the crib and picked up Leo. Leo wrapped his little arms around David's neck, sniffling. "See?" David said, turning to me. "He's fine. We're fine." We walked out of the nursery. David flipped the light switch off. As the room plunged into darkness, I glanced back, just for a second. The door was closing, and in the gap, illuminated by the hallway light, I saw the rocking chair. It was rocking again. We slept in our room. I locked the door. I put a chair under the handle. David thought I was insane, but he didn't argue. He held me while I shook. Morning came. We packed bags. I told David I couldn't stay there. I needed a break. I needed to go to my mom's for a few days. He agreed, mostly because he just wanted me to stop crying. I'm at my mom's house now. David's back at our place, packing up some more clothes and, ironically, getting the monitor so we can use it here. He just texted me. Got the stuff, leaving in 5. He left the monitor on, by the way. Battery's dead. I'm sitting on my mom's front porch. The sun is shining. It's a beautiful day. But I have the app on my phone. I don't know why I did it. Maybe I'm a masochist. Maybe I just needed to know that I wasn't crazy. I opened the app. The feed connected. The nursery's empty. It's daylight, so the color's back. The yellow walls, the blue rug. But the camera angle is different. The camera is usually mounted on the dresser, looking down at the crib. Now, the view is from the floor. It's looking up. It's looking up at the ceiling. And there, wedged into the corner where the walls meet the ceiling, is a shape. It's wearing David's blue button-down shirt, the one he wore to work yesterday. But the person inside the shirt, it's not David. The limbs are broken. They're bent backwards, folded over and over like origami to fit into the tight space of the corner. The legs are wrapped around the torso. The arms are splayed out against the ceiling, holding the body up with long gray fingers that dig into the drywall. And the head? The head is twisted 180 degrees, hanging upside down. It's looking right at the camera. The jaw hangs open, unhinged, stretching all the way down to the collarbone. And then, a notification pops up on my screen. A motion alert. But it's not from the nursery. It's from the camera in our living room. The one pointing at the front door. I switch feeds. I see David, walking out of the front door, carrying a duffel bag. He looks normal. He's looking at his phone, probably texting me that he's on his way. But as he steps out onto the porch, the sunlight hits him, and I see it. His shadow. The shadow stretching out behind him on the concrete isn't human. It's long. It's jagged. And it has too many joints. I try to call him. My fingers are slipping on the glass. Pick up, I scream internally. He answers. Hey, babe, he says. I'm in the car. Be there in 20. His voice is cheerful, normal. But then, I hear it. In the background, over the car's Bluetooth, a soft, wet sound. Breathing. David? I whisper. Yeah? Who's in the car with you? There's a pause. A long, static-filled pause. What do you mean? David asks. It's just me. But the breathing gets louder. It sounds like it's right next to the phone. Right next to his ear. And then, the voice from the monitor. We fit, it whispers. We fit so well. The call ended. I'm staring at the driveway, waiting for his car to pull up. I don't know who's coming to pick me up. I don't know what's wearing my husband's clothes. But I know one thing. When he gets here, I have to let him in. If I don't, he'll just find a way to fold himself through the seams. I thought I was done making enemies. That's the lie I told myself after I walked away from private work a year ago. No more dead-eyed husbands. No more surveillance vans. No more do me a favor, but don't ask questions. I was getting good at ignoring phone calls. Better at ignoring the ones that came in from blocked numbers.
Now I live above a shuttered laundromat with one burner phone and just enough guilt to keep me from sleeping more than 4 hours a night. And last week, someone put a countdown on my life. It started with a message I didn't open. The notification came in at 2:31 a.m. I wasn't asleep, just lying there in the dark, scrolling through old case notes I should have burned months ago. The phone lit up with a sort of ding. App, DRK/control. I never installed that, never even heard of it. But there it was, with full system permissions. My phone didn't even give me a chance to deny access. The preview read, "Contract confirmed. 7 days remaining." I tapped it. I shouldn't have, but I did. The screen went black, then a loading wheel. Then, target, Michael M., age 39. Last seen, redacted. Current status, confirmed. Engagement tier, priority. Contractor assigned. Network active. Time remaining, 6 days, 23 hours, 58 minutes, and 9 seconds. Below that was a live feed of my building's front entrance. Grainy footage, like from a dash cam or a mounted camera across the street. I closed the app, hard rebooted the phone, factory reset. Didn't matter. When the phone powered back on, the app was there again, open. I figured it was a sick prank. I had made people angry before. A jealous husband here, a fraud ring there. Someone could have cobbled together some old data and tried to scare me. But then, I saw the photo. At the bottom of the screen was a still frame, security cam angle, taken from the hallway of my building. It was me, unlocking my door, from inside the building. I started calling contacts, everyone I still trusted. Some didn't pick up. A few hadn't kept their numbers. One of them, Lyle, a tech guy I used to work with, called me back. Quiet voice. Sounded like he hadn't slept either. "Where'd you see the countdown?" he asked. I didn't answer. I hadn't told him it was a countdown. He hung up before I could ask how he knew. I left my apartment an hour later. Didn't pack. Just grabbed my go bag and walked. There was a black sedan parked across the street. Nothing special, but it hadn't been there earlier. As I passed it, I saw a phone mounted to the dash. The camera was angled out the windshield. I looked into the lens. The phone buzzed in the center console, and the car drove away. It's been 14 hours since the notification. The app updates in real time. Target, active. Engagement in progress. ETA, 6 days, 10 hours, 12 minutes, and 33 seconds. And just now, before I turned this burner off to write this down, it added a new line. Source verified. Access granted. I know what that means. Someone gave them my info, and I think I know who. I've worked enough cases to know when I'm being followed, but this doesn't feel like a tale. There's no car, no shadow, no footprints in the snow. This feels like a reflection. Like wherever I go, the world adjusts to meet me. I'm staying at a friend's cabin up north. No smart devices, no Wi-Fi, no cell towers for a good 20 miles. A wood stove and a transistor radio are the most advanced tech in here. Still, the app updated this morning. Location confirmed. Asset en route. ETA, 5 days, 21 hours, and 3 minutes. The words blinked for a second, then a second line appeared. New. Proximity engagement protocol initiated. I hadn't told anyone where I was. I hadn't used GPS. I hadn't used anything. So I backtracked everything. How did they get in? My old laptop, factory wiped a year ago, was stored in a closet. I pulled it out and cracked it open. Nothing in storage. But in the drive logs, I found a hidden sync folder titled /echo_mirror. It was filled with copies of my phone camera footage, screenshots of apps, notes I dictated, even when the mic was off. The last files were dated 4 weeks ago, right after my last client. Her name was Marissa Wynn. She hired me to track down her missing brother. Said the cops wouldn't help. I traced him to an abandoned warehouse in Temp, tied into a crypto laundering op. The kind of job that usually ends in a shrug and a paycheck. But he wasn't missing. He was deleted. No DMV, no employer records, no bank history. Just erased. I found a scrap of paper with a weird signature on it. Looked like a black sigil, half code, half contract. I took a photo and uploaded it to a private archive. I had forgotten about it until now. But someone else didn't. I checked the DRK/control app again. The site just updated. Contractor profile locked. Source file, Marissa W. Contract status, live. Priority verified. My client ordered the hit. The woman who cried in my office, who offered to pay me in cash up front, who thanked me for bringing him home. She was the source. I thought about calling her. I thought about asking why. But the site updated before I could. A new message, blinking in red. Initiating final phase, observation. Then a live stream opened. Low res, grainy, slight fisheye angle. From behind me. Inside the cabin. I turned around. It was a lens, mounted in the old smoke detector on the ceiling. I stared into it, and the screen blinked again. Target acknowledged. ETA, 3 days. I'm not running anymore. I'm going to find out how deep this goes. If someone opened a contract on me, I want to know how many others are waiting in line. I always thought hits were private. 2 people, 1 job, dirty cash, clean body. But this is something else. This is public, in the darkest, most invisible way. I drove 8 hours south to an old contact in Yuma. Rawl, former Fed turned fixer. If anyone could trace this, it was him. He owed me. Once saved his ass from a blackmail loop when the burner phone got cloned. He let me in without a word. Didn't even ask why I was bleeding. I handed him my phone and the busted laptop. Showed him the DRK/control feed. Told him about the site, the hit, the countdown. He went pale. I've seen this once before, he said. It's not just a contract. It's a bounty feed. Like a fantasy league for murder. He tapped into the back-end traffic using a spoofed relay node. It wasn't just my dossier being viewed. Thousands of users were logged in. And they weren't just watching. They were voting, commenting, tipping. They call it guided hunting, Rawl said. It's not just the killer. They've got support. Drones, cameras, safe house moles. Civilians paid off to report sightings. People like you are tagged, then delivered. He paused. And look at this. He pulled up the contract metadata. At the top of the list of verified supporters was a name I hadn't seen in a long time. P. Carson, my old partner. Brad. He was the only person who knew both my safe houses. The only one who had my full archive key. We used to trade intel, crack codes, back when we still believed in doing good work. I thought we lost touch after he burned out. Turns out, he just switched teams. The feed updated again. Contract, entering final window. Engagement tier, observed execution. ETA, 3 hours and 52 minutes. Then, a new message appeared highlighted. Let the viewers choose. Options appeared below it. Method. Location. Final words. They were letting people vote on how I die. Rawl unplugged everything. He told me to run. Said he'd try to wipe my trace. Buy me some time. I believed him. Until I saw the new upload. A still image. Taken from the garage. Just outside his house. It showed me, holding the laptop. Time-stamped. 2 minutes ago. The network had already updated my location. They didn't need to find me. I was already in the stream. I'm writing this from the only place I know without cameras, a fallout shelter I found in a closed police file 5 years ago. No electricity, no heat, just concrete and dark. I have 1 bullet in a loaded Glock. If they send someone, I'll try to take them with me. But I don't think that's the plan. I think they want me to run until I break, because the viewers, they always tip better when the target cries. I've been underground for 13 hours. No phone, no signal, just a flashlight, a half-dead laptop, and the weight of knowing that every second I'm alive is another second they let me be. That's the difference I've realized between being hunted and being scheduled. The feed updated at midnight. Contract active. Final phase initiated. Viewers 18,222. There's no map now. No ETA. Just a full screen video feed. Me, sitting here, live. I have no idea where the camera is, but I know it's in here. There's no sound except my own breathing and the quiet hum of anticipation. The kind that doesn't come from machines, but from attention. The sense that thousands of people are waiting for the moment your story ends. They want catharsis, closure, blood. And then the site chat opens. First 1 line. Don't waste it. Then a cascade of real-time comments. He was better than the last one. Too much hiding. Should have fought. Make it poetic. Use the gun. Don't flinch. $175 tip. Let him say something first. $40 tip. Slow bleed. I stand up, hold the gun, look into the dark. Somewhere in there, the camera watches me. Somewhere out there, they watch the feed. I don't know how long I speak. I say everything I never had the balls to say on the outside. I talk about the cases I buried, the people I failed, the partners I trusted, the system that feeds off us, the clients that smile while selling you out. I talk about Brad. And when I'm done, the screen flashes. Contract closing. Verify final moment. Proceed. I don't press it. I pull the battery from the laptop, smash the screen, dump it in the sump drain and sit back down. If they want a show, they'll get static. If they want a clean shot, they'll have to come get it. I close my eyes and wait for the moment I stop being a person and start being an ending. Somewhere above, a door creaks open. Footsteps. Careful. Slow. They're not rushing because they know the viewers love a slow fade.
I should have known something was wrong when they hired me on the spot. My name's Alex Morrison, and 2 weeks ago, I became a security guard at Clearview Storage on the outskirts of Portland. I'm writing this from my car in a Walmart parking lot, 'cause I can't go home. Because if I go home, it'll find me. And I need you to understand what's really in Unit 38 before it's too late. 3 months ago, I lost my job at the warehouse. Budget cuts, they said. 2 months ago, my wife left, taking our daughter with her. 1 month ago, I got evicted. I was living in my car, showering at the gym, spending my last dollars on gas station coffee, and trying to figure out how I'd fallen so far so fast. That's when I saw an ad on Craigslist. Security guard needed. Overnight shift. Immediate hire. $15 an hour. I called the number, and a man answered on the first ring. "Clearview Storage," he said. "You calling about the job?" Yes, sir."
I got experience in warehouse security, and I'm available to start immediately. Can you work nights? 10 p.m. to 6 a.m.? Absolutely. When can you come in? Right now if you need me. There was a pause. Then, come to the office. I'll have paperwork ready. No interview. No questions. No request for reference. No background check mentioned. I should have wondered why they were so desperate. Should have asked why the position was open. Should have noticed the relief in his voice when I said I'd come immediately. But I needed the money. I needed it badly enough to ignore every red flag. Clearview Storage was a sprawling facility on the edge of the industrial district. Rows and rows of identical orange units, surrounded by a chain-link fence, topped with barbed wire. The office was a small building near the entrance, with windows covered in security bars and a flickering neon sign. The man who hired me was named Vincent Hayes. He was in his 60s, with gray hair and deep circles under his eyes that suggested he hadn't slept well in years. When he shook my hand, his grip was weak, almost desperate. "Thank you for coming," he said, sliding a clipboard across his desk. "Just need you to sign these forms." I skimmed them. Standard liability waivers, non-disclosure agreements, emergency contact info. But there was one form that made me pause. It was titled Facility Protocols and had a list of rules. Patrol the facility every 2 hours. Log all vehicle entries and exits. Monitor security cameras from main office. Don't enter any units without written authorization. Unit 38 is strictly off limits under all circumstances. Report any sounds or disturbances from Unit 38 immediately. If Unit 38's door is found open, don't approach. Call emergency number provided. Unit 38? I asked. Vincent's expression tightened. Long-term rental. Owner is particular about privacy. You don't need to go near it. You don't touch it. You don't even look at it too long. Understood? Sure. No problem. I'm serious, Alex. He leaned forward, and I saw something in his eyes. Fear. The last 3 guards we hired didn't follow that rule. They're not with us anymore. What happened to them? They quit. But the way he said it, the way his eyes darted away, told me he was lying. And I signed the forms anyway. I needed the fucking job. Vincent walked me around the facility before my first shift started. It was massive, maybe 300 units total, arranged in long rows with overhead lights that cast everything in harsh yellow. The place was quiet, almost too quiet. We stopped in front of Unit 38. It was in the back corner of the facility, isolated from the other units. The door was metal, reinforced, and covered in chains. Not padlocks, but actual chains, wrapped around the door multiple times and welded shut. The metal was old, rusted in places, and there were scratch marks around the edges. Deep gouges, like something had tried to claw its way out. "This is it," Vincent said quietly. "You stay away from this unit. You hear me? Something happens with it, call me immediately. You don't investigate. You don't try to help. You call me and you wait in the office." "What's in there?" "That's not your concern. Just follow the damn rules." He gave me the keys to the office, the code for the gate, and a phone number written on a post-it note. "That's my cell. You call if anything happens with Unit 38. Anything." My first few nights were uneventful. I'd patrol the facility, check the cameras, log the occasional late-night customer coming to access their unit. The facility was mostly quiet after midnight, just the sound of wind moving through the rows and the distant hum of traffic from the highway. But I couldn't stop thinking about Unit 38. Every time I did my patrol, I'd find myself walking past it, looking at those chains, those scratch marks, wondering what could be inside that required that much security, wondering what had happened to the previous guards. On my 4th night, I heard it for the first time. It was around 2 a.m. I was in the office, watching the security cameras, when I heard a sound from outside, faint but distinct. Scratching, like nails on metal. I checked the cameras, cycling through each one until I found the source. Unit 38. On the grainy black and white feed, I could see the unit's door. And something was moving behind it. A shadow, shifting back and forth. And the scratching continued, rhythmic and persistent. I grabbed my flashlight and radio and went outside. My heart was pounding. I knew I wasn't supposed to approach the unit, but I needed to see if someone had broken in, if someone was trying to steal whatever the fuck was inside. As I got closer, the scratching got louder. Not just scratching anymore. I could hear breathing. Heavy, labored breathing. Like something struggling for air. I stood 20 feet away, flashlight trained on the door. The chains were still secure. The door was still sealed. The sound was coming from inside. Then I heard the voice. "Help me." It was barely a whisper, weak and desperate. "Please, help me." I took a step closer. "Hello? Is somebody there?" "Please." The voice was clearer now, a woman's voice, young, terrified. "I'm trapped. I've been here so long. Please, let me out." Every instinct told me to call Vincent, to follow the rules, but I could hear the desperation in that voice, the genuine fear. And I thought about what kind of person would chain someone inside a storage unit and leave them to die. Hold on," I called out. "I'm gonna go get help." "No!" The voice became urgent, panicked. "No, don't leave me. Please, they'll know. They'll make sure you can't help me. You have to let me out now. Please." I stood there, torn. The chains were welded shut. I couldn't open the door if I wanted to. But that voice, the pleading. "I can't open it," I said. "The door's sealed. I need tools to cut the chains." The breathing behind the door became faster, almost excited. "The office! There's bolt cutters in the storage closet. I've seen them. Please, before they come back." "Who? Before who comes back?" "The ones who put me here. Please, you don't have much time." I ran back to the office, my mind racing. If someone was really trapped in there, I couldn't just leave them. But Vincent's warnings echoed in my head. The rules were clear. Don't approach Unit 38. Call immediately if there's a disturbance. I found the bolt cutters in the storage closet, heavy and industrial. As I picked them up, my phone rang. It was Vincent. "Alex? Alex, what's happening?" The motion sensors around Unit 38 were triggered. "There's someone inside," I said. "I heard them. A woman. She's asking for help." Silence. Then, "Alex, listen to me carefully. There's no woman in Unit 38. Whatever the fuck you heard, it ain't real. Don't open that door. Don't go near it. Come back to the office and wait for me. I'm on my way." "But I heard her. It ain't real." His voice was sharp. "Alex, I'm begging you, don't open that door. Don't listen to anything it says. Just wait for me." He hung up. I stood there holding the bolt cutters, trying to process what he just said. It's not real, but I heard her. Heard the fear in her voice, the desperation. I went back outside, back to Unit 38. The scratching had stopped. Everything was quiet. "Hello?" I called out. No response. "Are you still there?" Then I heard it. Not the woman's voice anymore. Something else. A low, wet sound, like something breathing through fluid. And underneath it, a voice. But it was wrong, distorted, using the woman's words, but with multiple tones layered over each other. "Let us out."
I dropped the bolt cutters. They clattered on the concrete, the sound echoing across the empty facility. The thing behind the door laughed. Not a human laugh. Something that approximated laughter, like it had heard the sound before and was trying to mimic it. I backed away, my hands shaking. Vincent's truck pulled up a moment later, tires screeching. He jumped out and ran over to me. "Did you open it?" he demanded. "Did you cut the chains?" "No, I didn't. But there's something in there. Something that's not human." He looked at the door, at the chains still secure, and some of the tension left his shoulders. Thank God. "Come on, we need to talk." Back in the office, Vincent poured us both coffee with hands that trembled. He sat down heavily, looking older than he had when I first met him. "I should have told you the truth from the beginning," he said. "But I was afraid you wouldn't take the job, and I needed someone. Someone who would actually stay." "What is it? What's in Unit 38? He took a long drink of coffee. 20 years ago, this facility had a different owner, a man named James Hendricks. He rented Unit 38 to a group. They said they were researchers, paid cash, 5 years up front, with one condition: absolute privacy. No one opens the unit, no one asks questions." "What were they researching?" "I don't know. But one night, someone heard screaming coming from that unit. Multiple voices. And the police were called. When they opened it..." He paused, his hands gripping the coffee cup so tight his knuckles went white. "There were 7 bodies inside. But they weren't dead. They were merged together. Fused. Skin and bone and muscle all twisted into this fucking thing. This amalgamation that shouldn't be able to exist. But it did. And it was still alive. Still conscious. All 7 people trapped in one body. Screaming." I felt sick. What did they do? "They tried to separate them. Tried for weeks. But every time they cut into it, every time they tried to pull them apart, it would grow back together. And it would absorb everyone who touched it. 2 surgeons, 3 nurses, all of them became a part of it. So they sealed it back up, chained the door shut, and they've been feeding it ever since. Blood, tissue, anything organic. Just enough to keep it alive, but contained. The government took over, classified it. The facility changed hands. My father bought this place 10 years ago, not knowing what was here. By the time he found out, it was too late. You maintain Unit 38, or they shut you down and take the property." "Why don't they just kill it?" "They've tried. Fire doesn't work. Poison doesn't work. It adapts. It survives. And every time someone tries to destroy it, it gets stronger. It's been in there for 20 years, Alex. 20 years of absorbing people, learning from them, taking their memories and voices. That's what you heard tonight. It's using the voices of everyone it's ever consumed, trying to trick you into opening that door." I felt cold. "What happens if someone does open it?" "The last guard who tried, we found him 3 days later. Or what was left of him. He'd been absorbed into the mass. We could still see his face, pressed against the flesh, screaming silently. They had to burn the entire unit to get him out. And the thing just grew back. We sat in silence for a long time. Outside, the sun was starting to rise, painting the sky in shades of gray. "You can quit," Vincent said finally. "I wouldn't blame you. Most people do after their first encounter with it." "What about you? Why don't you quit?" "Because if I do, this place shuts down. The thing gets moved. And I don't want it anywhere near populated areas. At least here, it's contained. At least here, I can watch it." I thought about my empty bank account, my car full of belongings, the daughter I was supposed to have visitation with next month, but couldn't, because I had nowhere to bring her. "I'll stay," I said, "but I want hazard pay." Vincent actually smiled, though it didn't reach his eyes. "Fair enough.
That was 10 days ago. Since then, I've heard the thing in Unit 38 every night. It cycles through voices, trying different combinations, different tricks. Sometimes it's the woman. Sometimes it's a child crying. Sometimes it's someone I know, whose voice it couldn't have possibly learned. Last night, it used my daughter's voice. "Daddy?" she said through the door. "Daddy, why did you leave me? Don't you love me anymore?" I stood in the office, hands over my ears, trying to block it out. But I could still hear her. Still hear my 8-year-old daughter begging me to come get her, to help her, to save her. Vincent had to physically restrain me for going outside with the bolt cutters. "It ain't her," he kept saying. "It's that thing. It's trying to get inside your head." But how did it know? How did it know what my daughter sounded like? How did it know what would break me? The morning I found out, I was doing my final patrol before shift change when I noticed something near Unit 38. A small object, partially hidden in the shadows. I walked over, careful not to get too close to the door. It was a phone. My phone. The one I'd lost 3 days ago. I picked it up, and it was still on. Battery at 2%. And there, in my recent calls, was a number I didn't recognize. The call log showed it had been active for 6 hours, 2 nights ago. Someone, or something, had been listening to my voicemails. The ones from my ex-wife. The ones where I could hear my daughter in the background, calling for me. The thing in Unit 38 had my phone. It had access to everything on it. My contacts, my photos, my voice recordings. It knew everything about me. I drove straight here, to this Walmart parking lot. I've been sitting here for 3 hours, trying to decide what the fuck to do. Vincent called me twice. I didn't answer, because I realized something's wrong. Vincent said that thing's been absorbing people for 20 years, that it has the memories and voices of everyone it's consumed. But he also said his father bought the facility 10 years ago, that Vincent's been here the whole time. So I looked up the previous owner, James Hendricks, the man who first rented Unit 38 to those researchers. He's been dead for 15 years, and in his obituary, there was a photo of his son, Vincent Hendricks Jr., the man who's been paying me, the man who's been protecting the facility, the man who knows everything about Unit 38. He's been dead for 15 years. So who hired me? Who's been showing up every time the sensors go off? Who's been making sure no one opens that door? I think I know the answer. And it's way worse than what I imagined. Unit 38 doesn't just contain the thing anymore. The thing is the facility. It's been absorbing people for so long that it's learned to mimic entire lives. It can create versions of the people it's consumed, send them out to the world, use them to protect itself, and lure in more victims. Vincent isn't real. He's just another extension of the thing, designed to make sure the door stays closed while it grows stronger, while it learns more, while it prepares for the day it doesn't need that unit anymore. And I think that day's coming soon. Because last night, when it was using my daughter's voice, I heard something else underneath. Something that sounded like hundreds of voices, maybe thousands, all speaking in unison. Soon, they said. Soon we'll have enough. Soon we won't need the chains anymore. Soon, we'll be ready. I can't fucking go back to Clearview Storage. I can't face what Vincent really is. Can't risk being the next voice added to that chorus. But I can warn you. If you see a job posting for security work at a storage facility, if they hire you on the spot with no questions asked, if they tell you there's one unit you can never, ever approach, don't take that job. Because whatever's inside that unit, whatever it's becoming, it's not content to stay locked up forever. It's patient. It's learning. And it's getting ready to open its own door. I'm leaving Portland tonight, driving as far as I can on the gas that I have. Maybe I'll be far away enough when it finally breaks free. Maybe I'll be lucky. But I don't think anyone will be lucky when Unit 38 finally opens.
and it will open. Bought the house in October. It was a steal, honestly. Way under market value for the neighborhood. The realtor mentioned the previous owner had died there, but she was quick to add that it was peaceful, natural causes, in his sleep. She said it like that made it better. Like, death was less sticky if it happened quietly. I'm not superstitious. I needed a place, and the price was right. Plus, dead people don't bother me. Living people, though, they've been bothering me plenty. Someone had been stealing packages off my porch, twice in the first month. I work from home, and I swear I'd hear the delivery truck, but by the time I got to the door, the box would be gone. So, I did what everyone does. I bought a Ring doorbell. Installation was easy. Synced it to my phone, set up the motion zones, cranked the sensitivity way up high. That night, I felt safer than I had since moving in. Pretty funny, huh? How a little camera can make you feel like you've got control over things. The first alert came at 3:17 a.m. I woke up to my phone buzzing on the nightstand. Groggily, I opened the app, expecting to see a raccoon, or maybe a cat. The footage loaded slowly, buffering in that annoying way that it does. Then, I saw them. A person, standing directly in front of my door, facing the camera, perfectly still. My first thought that it was some drunk who'd wandered to the wrong house, but something about the way they stood there made my skin prickle. They weren't swaying or looking around confused. They were just standing, staring directly into the lens. I squinted at my phone screen, trying to make out details in the grainy night vision footage. The person was tall, wearing what looked like a coat or a robe. But their face, something was off about their face. Their eyes were too far apart. Not grotesquely so, but enough that my brain kept trying to correct what I was seeing. And their mouth was stretched in this wide smile that didn't move, didn't shift, just frozen there. I held my breath and watched. The figure didn't knock, didn't move at all, except for the occasional blink. Slow, deliberate blinks that somehow made everything worse. 6 minutes. I timed it. 6 minutes of standing there before they turned, smoothly, mechanically, and walked out of frame with perfectly normal human steps. I didn't sleep the rest of that night. The next day, I convinced myself I'd been half asleep, and that the footage looked weird because of the night vision, that my imagination had filled in the rest. I didn't tell anyone. What would I even say? But I checked that footage obsessively, watched it frame by frame. That face was wrong. I couldn't articulate how, but something was wrong. Night 2, the alert came at 2:53 a.m. It was a different person. This one was shorter, stockier, but their face, God, their face looked like it had melted and reset wrong. Features in almost the right places, but not quite, like a reflection in a funhouse mirror that had been flattened back out. This one knocked. I heard it through the house, steady, patient knocking, not urgent or aggressive, just persistent. Tap, tap, tap. Always the same rhythm, same interval. I crept to my bedroom door and listened. The knocking continued for 20 minutes before it stopped. When I checked the camera, they were gone. I called in sick to work the next day and went to the hardware store. Bought additional locks, a security bar for the door, motion sensor lights for the porch. The kid at the checkout asked if I was okay. I guess I looked as bad as I felt. Night 3, they came in a group. 4 of them, standing in a semicircle in front of my door. They were having a conversation. I could see their bodies turning toward each other, gesturing, but their mouths didn't move right. The lips would shift, but not sync with what must have been words. Like watching a badly dubbed foreign film. One of them pointed directly at the camera, at me. I dropped my phone. When I picked it back up, they were all staring at the lens, all 4 of those wrong faces looking directly at me through the screen. I wanted to scream, but my throat had closed up. They left after an hour. I spent the next day researching. I found forums about the paranormal, Reddit threads about shadow people and dimensional rifts. I posted my own thread with screenshots, asking if anyone knew what this was. Most responses were jokes or accusations of faking. One person messaged me privately. "Stop watching. They know when you're looking." I didn't stop watching. Night 4, 3:47 a.m. Just a one this time. They looked almost normal at first glance. Human proportions, regular features. I actually felt relief for a split second. Then, they tilted their head to look at something off camera, and their neck bent completely wrong, like it had an extra joint in the middle. When they straightened back up, their head rotated just slightly too far, stopping at an angle that should have been impossible. I didn't sleep at all that night. I just sat in my living room with every light on and a kitchen knife on my lap, watching the camera feed until the sun came up. I saw my neighbor that morning, Mr. Reeves from 2 doors down, elderly guy who always waved when he was getting his mail. I almost ran to him, almost told him everything. But when I opened my mouth, nothing came out. How do you explain this without sounding insane? He asked if I was settling in okay. I said yes. He asked if I ever needed anything, just to knock. He's a nice guy. We talked for maybe 5 minutes before I went back inside. That night, night 5, changed everything. The alert came at 2:47 a.m. I grabbed my phone immediately, my heart already racing before I even looked at the screen. Mr. Reeves was on my porch. He was in his pajamas, thin striped cotton that hung loose on his frame. And he was crying. I could see the tears on his cheeks, even in this grainy footage. His mouth was moving, forming words I couldn't hear through the silent video. "Please," he was mouthing. "Please. Please. Please." Behind him, gripping his shoulder with one pale hand, was one of them. This one was tall, maybe 7 feet. Its face was stretched vertically, elongated like someone had grabbed it by the chin and crown and pulled. Too many teeth visible in its too wide mouth. But the worst part was its expression. It looked patient, almost gentle, like a parent helping a kid. My hand shook as I fumbled with my phone, trying to find the two-way audio button, trying to call 911, trying to think. Mr. Reeves was looking directly at the camera, directly at me, tears streaming down his face. The thing behind him didn't move. It just stood there, offering him to me. I called 911. The dispatcher asked what my emergency was. I opened my mouth and realized I had no idea what to say. "There's someone at my door," wouldn't cover it. "There's a monster holding my neighbor hostage who would get me a psych eval, not help. Someone at my door is acting threatening," I finally managed. "They have my neighbor. He looks hurt." She said officers were on the way. "Stay inside. Don't open the door." I promised I wouldn't. But Mr. Reeves was still there, still crying, still pleading with his eyes. I activated the doorbell speakers. "Mr. Reeves, can you hear me? Help is coming. Just stay calm." The thing behind him tilted its head at the sound of my voice. Curious. Its grip on Mr. Reeves' shoulder tightened slightly. 10 minutes passed. Felt like hours. Mr. Reeves was shaking now, his legs barely holding him up. The thing never moved. It never shifted. It just waited. Waited for me to make a choice. I don't know what I was thinking. Maybe I wasn't thinking at all. But I couldn't just watch him stand there, terrified and hurt, while I just fucking hid inside. I don't know what I was thinking. Maybe I wasn't thinking at all. But I couldn't watch him just stand there, terrified and hurt, while I fucking hid inside. I'm not that person. I can't be that person. I opened it. Just a crack. Just enough to reach through. "Mr. Reeves, grab my hand! Quick!" He lunged forward. His hand shot through the gap and grabbed my wrist. His skin was ice cold, frozen, like he had been dead for hours. And his grip, His grip was wrong. Too strong. Crushing. I felt the bones in my wrist creak as those fingers tightened, bent backward at impossible angles to get better leverage. I tried to pull back, but he was pulling me forward, trying to force his way through the gap. His face was coming apart at the seams. Literally. The skin around his jaw was peeling back, revealing something underneath that wasn't bone. The thing behind him, behind it, released its grip and stepped backward. It looked at me with something that might have been sadness, or disappointment, like I'd failed some kind of test. Then it turned and walked away into the darkness, moving backward, never breaking eye contact until it disappeared completely. The thing wearing Mr. Reeves' face was still trying to push through my door, making sounds that might have been words, in some language that human throats weren't meant to speak. The face was sliding off now, hanging loose like a rubber mask. I threw all my weight against the door, slammed it shut on that arm that was still reaching through, and I heard something crack. The arm withdrew. I locked everything, every lock, every bolt, the security bar wedged under the handle. It stood on my porch for 3 hours, knocking. Always the same rhythm. Tap, tap, tap. When dawn finally came, I checked the camera. The porch was empty, except for a package. Small, brown paper wrapping, my name written on top in shaky, childish letters. I spent all morning staring at it through the camera feed. Couldn't make myself to go out there. But by noon, the not knowing was worse than any possible contents. I used a broom to drag it inside, opened it at arm's length, like it might explode. It was Polaroid photographs. The first one was me, sleeping in my bed. Different nights, different positions. Some from last week. Some from last night. Taken from inside my bedroom. My hands started shaking so badly I almost dropped them. The next photos were of Mr. Reeves. The real Mr. Reeves, tied to a chair in what looked like a basement. Tape was over his mouth, eyes wide with terror. There was a timestamp in the corner. 3 days ago. 3 days. While I'd been talking to that thing wearing his face. The last photograph was different. It showed one of them. One of those wrong-faced things. But in this photo, it looked human. Completely normal. A man, maybe in his 60s, smiling at the camera. There was a date written on the back. April 3rd, 1987. And a name. Richard Holloway. My blood went cold. I knew that name. The realtor had mentioned it in passing. Richard Holloway was the previous owner, the one who had died here, peacefully, in his sleep. My phone buzzed. Motion alert. I didn't want to look. Every instinct screamed at me not to look, but my thumb moved on its own, opening the app. Mr. Reeves stood at my door. He looked completely normal, healthy, alert. He was smiling and waving at the camera like he always did when we passed each other on the street. "Please," he mouthed. "I escaped. Let me in. They're coming back." Behind him, I could see shapes in the darkness. Lots of them, standing perfectly still on the street, on the neighboring lawns, between the houses, all watching my door. Mr. Reeves knocked. Tap, tap, tap. That was 4 hours ago. He's still out there. They're all still out there. The real police never came. I'm not sure I actually called them, or if that memory is even mine anymore. I can see more photographs scattered on my porch now. I think they've been leaving them all day. One is face up. From here, through the camera, I can just barely make it out. It's me, standing at someone else's door. My face doesn't look quite right. I don't know what happens if I don't let them in. I don't know what happens if I do. But the knocking continues. Tap, tap, tap. And I'm so tired of being afraid. My name's Officer Derek Mills, and I need to tell someone what's really happening in Millfield County, Ohio, before they come looking for me. I graduated from the police academy 3 months ago, top of my class. I wanted to make a difference, help people, all that idealistic rookie stuff. When I got assigned to Millfield County, a rural area 2 hours southeast of Columbus, I figured it'd be quiet. Maybe some drunk drivers, domestic disputes, the occasional meth lab. I was so wrong. My first day, I met my training officer, Sergeant Ray Kowalski. He was exactly what you'd expect from a rural cop with 23 years on the job. Thick mustache, beer gut, tired eyes that had seen too much. He shook my hand with a grip that could crush walnuts and said, "Welcome to the cornfield, kid. Let's take a ride." We got in the cruiser and drove out into the county. And I mean out. Past the last gas station, past the last house with lights on, into an ocean of corn that stretched to the horizon in every direction. The sun was setting, turning everything gold and red. "Beautiful, ain't it?" Ray said. "Yeah, peaceful." "That's what everyone thinks." He reached into the glove compartment and pulled out a worn spiral notebook. The cover was stained, and the pages were dog-eared and filled with different handwriting. "This is the real patrol guide, not the one they gave you at the academy. This one." I laughed. "Is this a hazing thing?" "I wish it was." He handed it to me. "Read it. Memorize it. Follow it exactly. Your life depends on it." The first page had a list of rules written in neat block letters. Millfield County Patrol Guide. Do not deviate from these rules. I flipped through the pages. There were at least 30 rules. Some crossed out, some added in margins with different pens. My eyes caught on a few. Rule 4. If you see a hitchhiker with a deer's head, do not stop, even if he's wearing a suit. Especially if he's wearing a suit. Rule 11. On Tuesday nights, the 10 p.m. tornado siren will sound 13 times. Park the cruiser, turn off the engine, and do not move until it stops. They track vibration. Rule 18. If you pull over a vehicle and the driver has no face, give them a warning and let them go. Do not ask for ID. I looked up at Ray. This is a joke, right?" "You'll see." His voice was flat, dead serious. "Come on, Sarge. Deer-headed hitchhikers? Faceless drivers? This is pretty ridiculous." Ray pulled the cruiser over to the side of the empty road and turned to face me. His expression was harder than concrete. "Listen to me very carefully, Mills. I know how this sounds. I know what you're thinking. But there's things in this county that don't make sense. Things that don't follow the rules of the world, you know? In that notebook, that's 23 years of officers figuring out how to survive. Some of them didn't. Their names are in the back." He gestured to the notebook. I flipped to the last page and saw a list of names with dates next to them. 8 names, 8 dead officers. "What happened to them?" I asked quietly. "They didn't follow the rules." For the rest of that first week, nothing weird happened. We responded to normal calls, a fender bender, a noise complaint, a welfare check on an elderly woman who turned out to be fine. Ray almost seemed disappointed. "Give it time," he said. "It always starts slow." On my 8th night, things changed. We were driving through the cornfields around 9 p.m. when Ray pointed to a figure standing on the side of the road ahead, a hitchhiker with his thumb out. As we got closer, my stomach dropped. The man was wearing a perfectly tailored gray suit, shiny black shoes, a red tie, and where his head should have been, there was a deer's skull, complete with the antlers. "Don't slow down," Ray said calmly. "What the hell is that?" "Exactly what it looks like. Keep driving." The deer-headed figure turned to watch us as we passed. I saw empty eye sockets. The jaw hung open slightly, like it was smiling. "Rule 4, Ray said. Never stop for him. He's been trying to get a ride for 15 years. That's impossible. That's a person in a costume. You think so? Pull over. Go ask him to take off the mask. I didn't pull over. Who is he? I asked. We don't know. Some officers think he's a lost traveler. Some think he's something that crawled out of the old quarry. Doesn't fucking matter. What matters is if you pick him up, you don't come back. What do you mean you don't come back? Ray was quiet for a long moment. Officer Patterson picked him up in 2015. Thought he was just some weirdo in a costume. Figured he'd arrest him for public disturbance. We found Patterson's cruiser 3 days later, parked in the middle of a cornfield 20 miles from where he'd picked up the hitchhiker. Driver's seat was covered in blood. Patterson was gone. We never found him. I felt cold. And you just let this thing keep walking around? We don't have a choice. This county don't work like other places. You follow the rules. You survive. You try to be a hero, you end up on that list in the back of the notebook. The second incident happened 4 days later, on a Tuesday night. At 9:55 p.m., Ray pulled into an empty church parking lot and turned off the engine. What are we doing? I asked. It's Tuesday, almost 10 p.m. Rule 11. I'd read that rule, the tornado siren, the vibration. I'd assumed it was some kind of metaphor or inside joke. At exactly 10 p.m., the tornado siren began to wail. 1, 2, 3. Count 'em, Ray said. 4, 5, 6. I counted. The siren blared 13 times, each one longer and louder than a normal tornado warning. The sound seemed to vibrate through my bones. Then it stopped. For a moment, everything was silent. Even the insects stopped chirping. Then I heard it. Movement in the corn. Not rustling of wind. Something else. Something heavy pushing through the stalks. Multiple somethings. Don't move, Ray whispered. Don't even breathe loud. I looked out the window. In the moonlight, I could see shapes moving through the cornfield. Tall shapes. Too tall to be human. They moved wrong, like their joints bent in places joints shouldn't bend. One of them came close to the cruiser. I could see it more clearly now. It looked almost human, but stretched. Its arms were too long, hanging down past its knees. Its head was too large, tilted at an angle that should have broken its neck. It stopped right next to the window. I held my breath. My heart hammered so loud I was sure I could hear it. The thing pressed its face against the glass. Its eyes were completely white, its mouth opened, showing too many teeth. Then, it moved on, disappearing into the corn with the others. We sat there for 10 minutes before Ray finally started the engine. What are those? I asked, my voice shaking. We call them the corn walkers. They come out after the Tuesday siren. Stay in your vehicle, stay still, and they'll leave you alone. Make noise, run, try to drive away, and they'll chase you. They're fast. Faster than any cruiser. This is insane. Fucking insane. Welcome to Millfield County. I should have quit right then. I should have turned in my badge and driven back to Columbus and never looked back. But something kept me there. Maybe it was pride. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe I just couldn't accept the world I knew had rules this wrong. By week 3, I'd seen other things. Lights in the corn that moved in patterns. A woman standing at a crossroads at midnight who disappeared when we got close. A phone call that came through the radio from a house that burned down in 1982. Ray explained each one calmly, referring back to the notebook. There's rules for everything. Procedures. Ways to survive. Why doesn't anyone know about this? I asked one night. Why isn't this national news? Who would believe it? And who would come here if they did? The county protects itself. People who ask too many questions tend to disappear or forget what they saw. It's been this way for a long time. How long? According to the oldest records at the station, since at least the 1950s. Maybe longer. On my 26th night, everything fell apart. We got a call around 11 p.m., a disturbance at a property on Old Mill Road. The address meant nothing to me, but Ray's face went pale when he heard it. "We're not responding to that," he said. "What? Why not?" "That's a Rule 27 location. We don't go there. Ever." I pulled out the notebook and found Rule 27. Do not respond to calls from Old Mill Road past 10 p.m. It's a trap. A trap for what? For officers who ask too many questions. Ray started driving the opposite direction. "We can't just ignore a call." "Yes, we can. That's exactly what we're gonna do." But something in his voice was off. He sounded scared, more scared than I'd ever heard him. "Yes, we can. That's exactly what we're gonna do." "Ray, what's really going on here?" He was quiet for a long time. Then he pulled over to the side of the road and turned to me. "You've been doing good, kid. Following the rules, keeping your head down. But there's something you need to understand. These rules, they're not about protecting us from monsters or ghosts, or whatever the fuck you think's out there." "Then what the hell are they about?" "They're about keeping us complicit." My blood went cold. "What? The deer-headed hitchhiker?" "That's Michael Webb. He's a cult member who wears that mask to scare rookies. Cornwalkers? They're real people, in a fucking costume. The whole thing's theater, designed to make us believe in something impossible, so we don't see what's actually happening." "I don't understand." Ray's hands were shaking on the steering wheel. "Millfield County's a human trafficking operation, Derek. Has been for decades. They use the corn, the isolation, the fear to move people through here. Mostly women and children. The rules keep us officers from investigating too closely. Keep us afraid to look in the wrong places." "That's..." I couldn't process it. "You've known this whole time?" "I figured it out 5 years ago, and I made a choice. I could try to stop it and end up like Patterson, killed. Or I could play along and survive. I chose survival, and I've hated myself every day since." "Why are you telling me this now?" "Because that call to Old Mill Road, that's not a trap for monsters. It's a trap for me. I've been leaving anonymous tips to the FBI, small things, breadcrumbs, and they figured out it was me." He put the cruiser in drive. "I'm going to respond to that call. I'm gonna break every rule in that fucking notebook, and I'm gonna expose everything. Ray, if what you're saying's true, then they're gonna kill you." "I know." He looked at me with those tired eyes. "But I can't do this anymore. Can't be a part of it. Maybe I can't fix it, but I can make enough noise that someone pays attention. Then I'm coming with you." "No." He pulled out his phone and handed it to me. "I recorded everything. Names, locations, evidence is all in here. When I don't come back, you take this to the FBI field office in Cincinnati. Not Columbus. Columbus might be compromised. And you tell them everything." "Ray!" "That's an order, Officer Derek Mills. Get out. Walk to the gas station 2 miles back. Call a cab. Get out of Millfield County and don't come back." I got out and watched him drive away toward Old Mill Road. That was 6 hours ago. Ray hasn't come back. The radio's been silent. I've been sitting in this gas station bathroom, staring at this phone, trying to decide what to do. I looked through the files. It's all here. Financial records, shipping manifests, names of dozens of officers and county officials, photos of compounds hidden in cornfields. Not supernatural prisons, but real buildings where real people are being held. The corn walkers are guards. The deer-headed hitchhiker is a scout who identifies potential threats. The Tuesday night siren's a signal. All clear. Move the next shipment. Every rule in that notebook was designed to keep officers away from the truth. And now I'm sitting here, realizing I have two choices. I can take this evidence to the FBI and hope they believe me. Hope that Ray's sacrifice meant something. Hope that I can actually make a difference. Or I can walk away, pretend I never saw any of this, go back to my normal life and let Millfield County keep its secrets. I'd like to say the choice is easy, but Ray survived for 18 years by choosing silence. Patterson chose to investigate, and he's dead. But I keep thinking about those files, about the faces in those photos. All of them waiting in the dark, while officers like me drove past, following rules designed to keep us blind. I'm writing this in case something happens to me, in case I don't make it to Cincinnati. If you're reading this, you need to know, Millfield County, Ohio, is not what it seems. The monsters are real, but they aren't paranormal. They're human, and they've been hiding behind ghost stories for decades. I'm taking Ray's evidence to the FBI. I'm breaking every rule in that fucking notebook. And if I disappear, tell them to look in the corn. Not for ghosts, for the people who are still alive and waiting for someone to finally come looking.
I found the site at 2:46 a.m., the way you find most bad things. Bored, anxious, and already too deep into the internet. It was posted in a comment thread under a video titled, "Creepiest Surveillance Footage Ever Caught." The top reply just said, "You think that's bad? Check the list." Then a link, .onion address. No context, no upvotes. I know, I shouldn't have clicked it. But I did. The site was simple. Plain black background, white text at the top. Verified, confirmed departures. It was a list. Names, ages, city, a photo. Always just one, in a single word status. Pending, confirmed, recovered, closed. At first, I thought it was a database for found bodies, something forensic. Morbid, sure, but not unusual for the dark web. Then, I saw the dates. Not the confirmed ones, the pending ones. They were all in the future. I scrolled down and saw someone I recognized. Not a celebrity, not even a friend, just some guy from my building. Simon L., 32, Phoenix, Arizona. Status, pending, 2 days. Taken outside our complex. I could see the mailbox cluster behind him. I thought it was fake, some AI-generated trick, a deep fake, maybe even a prank. I screenshotted the entry, saved it, even walked past Simon's unit the next day just to make sure he was real. He was. He nodded at me as I passed, said hey to me, and looked normal. Then, 2 days later, he was gone. I didn't see the moving truck, didn't see him pack. His car was still in the lot, but his unit was dark, dead, mail stacking up, and no one, not even his girlfriend, had an explanation. He just didn't come home. That's when I checked the site again. Simon's status had changed, confirmed, collected. I took it to the cops. I walked into the precinct, pulled up the screenshot, and said someone might have been targeted. That a site was tracking people, predicting disappearances. The officer behind the glass gave me a look like I'd farted in a funeral home. "Do you know the guy personally?" "No, he just lives in my building." So, you're reporting a missing person you don't know, based on a website you won't name, that told you he'd be gone? He took my number, said someone would follow up. No one ever did. But a day later, I saw a squad car parked across my building. Same cop from the desk. He was just sitting there, watching me. I started checking the site obsessively, refreshing it every hour. There were hundreds of names, thousands. Some I'd swear I'd seen on real missing person sites. Some were just blank silhouettes. Some had blurred faces, like the image had been corrupted or censored. Then, one night, I refreshed the page at 3:13 a.m. and I saw my own face. Grainy webcam photo. Evan R., 28, Phoenix, Arizona. Status: pending. 5 days. I closed the laptop, shut everything down, pulled the battery from my phone, turned off the lights, and just sat there, breathing like I ran a fucking mile. 5 days. What the fuck did that mean? I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I saw that same cop again. He was parked 1 block closer. I tried to disappear. New phone, new laptop, VPN, burner email. I left my apartment that night and checked into a trashy motel 3 towns over, using a fake name I found on a forum. I paid in cash, taped over the door peephole, and blocked out the windows. And still, the website knew where I was. On my new device, with a new IP, I opened it just to check, just to see if it was maybe gone, or if my name had disappeared. It hadn't. Evan R. Status: pending. 3 days. Location: updated. Live tracking enabled. Underneath my photo was a red dot, a map marker, hovering over the exact motel I was in. I shut the laptop, tore the SIM card from the burner phone, left both on the dresser. I was out the door in 30 seconds. I spent the next day drifting between public libraries and coffee shops with unsecured Wi-Fi. Didn't stay in one place longer than an hour. Didn't use my real name. Didn't make eye contact. No phones. No internet. And still, people stared. A man reading a newspaper with no pages turned. A woman at the bus stop who coughed every time I looked at her. A kid in a hoodie who held his phone up toward me for too long. I wasn't sure what was real anymore. That night, I got a message scribbled on the side of a napkin, left under my coffee cup at a diner. You're flagged. Stop checking the site. That's how I met Jay. Late 40s. Eyes like he hadn't slept in a decade. He found me again 2 hours later at a Greyhound station, and he sat behind me without asking. You're the kid watching the feed, right? I didn't answer. They can see when you're logged in. It's part of it. Every time you visit, it confirms your pattern. It makes the target more accurate. I asked him what the hell was going on. He told me this. The site's not for the public. It's for them contractors, agencies, off-the-books operators. Everyone thinks the dark web is where criminals go to hide. Truth is, it's where systems go to keep things quiet. They don't need to kill you. They just need you to vanish. I asked him who they were. He smiled. Does it even matter? He told me he'd been listed 2 years ago. Pending 6 days, but he ran early, cut his phone, bank, and every traceable thing before it hit 0. They like clean removals. No mess. If you cause noise, they pause. But they don't forget. I asked if he'd ever seen someone escape twice. He just shook his head. I made a mistake that night. I went back to the site. I had to know. Jay's face was there too. Faded. Blurry. Jason H. Status: closed. Unverified. I don't know what that means. Maybe they never found him. Maybe they did, and we just don't get to know what that status means. The next morning, I woke up in a motel bathroom, cold tile against my back, having passed out with the water still running. I turned on the laptop. Evan R. Status pending. 1 day. Verify identity to confirm location. Click to confirm. The button blinked, waiting, like it knew I was watching. I didn't click the button. I shut the laptop, left it in a dumpster behind a Walgreens, and walked. No car, no bus, no GPS, just instinct. That was yesterday. I'm not sure how long I've been awake now. Every time I slow down, I see someone watching. Not in uniform, not even obvious, just aware. The way someone checks their phone when they're not getting notifications. The way a car pulls away from the curb a few seconds too late. I don't think they're chasing me. I think they're tracking completion. Like I'm already marked, already scheduled. Everything else is just logistics. I broke down this morning, tried calling someone, an old friend, Julia. She works at a tech firm, and she's sharp, paranoid like me. If I thought anyone could help, it'd be her. She answered on the second ring. No hello, just, "You're not supposed to be using this number." I asked her how she knew. She didn't answer, just exhaled hard and said, "Check your face." I hung up and went into a restroom at a gas station, washed my face, looked in the mirror. There was a small black dot on my neck, like a mole, but too perfect, too circular. I scratched at it. It didn't come off. I tried accessing the site one last time using a stranger's phone. The homepage didn't ask if I was ready this time. It just opened, straight to my profile. Evan R. Status verified. Awaiting collection. Location confirmed. ETA 12/14/56. A countdown? To what? Pickup? Processing? Death? I stared at it, trying to make the math make sense. It was accurate to the second, updating in real time, ticking down like a timer on a bomb that no one else could hear. I don't know what they do to people. Some names get marked closed, some say recovered, some go unverified, like they were too messy to handle. And then, some just vanish, completely scrubbed from the page, like they never even existed. And I think that's the cleanest outcome. Not dying. Being erased. I went back to my apartment. I know how that sounds, but at some point, you just gotta stop running. It's not giving up. It's resignation. Like when you stop refreshing the tracking number because you know the package is arriving today. The lights were already off. My neighbors didn't look at me. One actually turned and walked the other way when she saw me. They knew. I'm sitting here, writing this from a burner laptop, watching the countdown. 2 minutes and 38 seconds. 2 minutes and 37 seconds. No sounds outside. No boots. No sirens. But I know they don't need those. They've already been here. This isn't an abduction. It's an appointment. They don't need to break in. They don't need to grab you. They just mark you. And then the world moves on without you. Final status update just flashed. Verified. In transit. The screen went dark. And so did the lights in my apartment.